From pretty much the present, this is your host, Adam Graham, bringing you a week of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2012. Because these podcasts are many years old, any offers or information included in the podcast may not be valid unless they're currently reflected on our Great Detectives of Old Time Radio website at greatdetectives.net. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13 at greatdetectives.net. Give me a call, 208-991-4783, and become one of our friends over on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Well, this episode is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners, and I want to say thank you to some folks who gave in our listener support campaign. So special thanks to Glenn and to Tom, who we'll hear from after the show. And we will send them access to our premium site, which we do for all donations of $7 or more, plus a special extra thank you for those who requested it for donations of $20 or more during the listener support campaign. I should mention that after, all those months where we were going through and after every episode, we're like, okay, there were 10 lost episodes between this episode and last week's show. We haven't had a whole lot of that. In fact, we're in kind of a rare season. There were 2 straight episodes, The Tough Guy and Murder by Error. And then with last week's show, there was 1 missing episode, and then after that there were 9 straight episodes, including this one, with no lost episodes. So we're in a nice period where there are 11 of 12 episodes, all in a row for us. I should mention here that the episode you're going to hear today, For Love of Murder, required a little work to get put together. Because I couldn't use the old time radio research version because there was a gap in about 3 minutes of show missing. So if you've listened to this before and it was messed up, you're going to enjoy it because we've got the whole thing for you. So from August 3rd, 1954, here is For Love of Murder.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Anti-noise ordinances are fine and dandy. Makes living a lot more serene. But how can you legislate against the really disturbing noises, folks? The noises in your head, that would be.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. The footwork a confidential cop puts in isn't always paid mileage. Some of it's for free in the public weal and welfare. Like a trip I took to the Tombs one day to see an inmate named Maxie Potter. I'd gotten a begging letter from Maxie. Could sweet charity move me to hurry to his side, end quote. Having a pint or so of the milk of human kindness in me, I complied. I found Maxie sitting on the edge of his cot. His eyes lit up like 100-watt bulbs when he saw me.
Barrie Craig?
That's me.
Oh, you got a heart.
And you've got a nerve.
Just for asking you to come?
For confusing me with the Legal Aid Society.
What's wrong with helping people?
Starvation. I don't get paid. No cream in my farina.
I'll tell you what. I'll owe you your expenses.
The road to hunger is paved with bad debts.
Oh, shades of Mrs. O'Houlihan.
Mrs. O'Houlihan.
My teacher in continuation school. That saying you said, she used to say it.
But it made no impression on you.
No. What I went for was, it's blessed to receive.
And so you wrote to me.
And so you're here.
Now, what do you want?
For you to get me out.
I never engineer prison breaks.
Bail. Put up the bill.
How much?
$500?
Dollars?
Sure, dollars.
Well, I haven't got it.
Well, Uncle Real Estate, then. They'll take that for bail.
I've only got a cemetery plot.
Now, wait. You're a citizen in good standing?
Opinions divided on that.
Well, Judge Ferganza, he'll let me out on what's the word I'm trying for?
Recognizance.
Yeah, on your... Well, will you?
You've sure got a cheek.
I got troubles. I share 'em. I'm not proud.
What's the charge against you?
Assault, 3rd degree, hardly nothing.
Who'd you hit?
Randy Lomax, the talent agent. You might have heard of him?
Everybody has.
He's been promoting my girl, feeding her baloney about how he's going to make her a big star. I lost my head. I hit him.
What with?
A brick. But that's between us. In court, I'm denying it.
Maxie had an appeal for me. He was pure Damon Runyon. I arranged his freedom on my recognizance. When that was done, I bought him a hamburger and coffee.
Hey, reach me to relish once more, huh?
You've just about demolished the jar.
There's vitamins in relish. Besides, it's on the house.
Relish.
Man, you're sure a friend.
And you're such a leech.
Sadie, my girl, Sadie Sachs, we've been keeping company for 6 years. It's a long engagement, but Sadie likes long engagements. We had plans, the two of us. Raise rabbits and grapes soon as we got $2,000 saved.
$2,000 saved?
To buy a certain going business over in Jersey. Sadie and me, the two of us, we worked in the Blue City distillery.
In a distillery?
Bottle washers, both of us.
Oh.
I made 60, Sadie made 40. Anyhow, everything was hunky-dory.
Until Randy Lomax came along.
Yeah, one fine day, the rat. He saw Sadie in the fun house at Atlantic City. He followed her around to the Ferris wheel and the Wax Museum.
Couldn't let Sadie out of his sight.
She had $1 million legs. He kept writing that down, passing notes to her. All this behind my back.
Please continue.
Well, you try and stop me. Then Sadie wrote out a telephone number and passed it to him.
Still behind your back.
Oh, I had a couple of beers. I was blind. Anyhow, they met next day, and Lomax sold Sadie a bill of goods. Would she be a model? And did she have theatrical ambition?
To which Sadie said, yay, brother.
Well, what girl ain't conceited? That's the story, anyhow. Sadie signed up with Lomax. He gave her a new name, Paula Paloma. From a dirty blonde, he made her jet black so he could pass her off as Spanish. What a name. Paula Paloma.
Which brings us to your fight with Lomax.
He told Sadie to give me the brush. I was wrong for her future. I was a slob, and she was now imported stuff. The rest I told you. I met Lomax, I beamed him, I got locked up.
I bailed you out.
Now you go see Lomax and get him to drop the charges. Here, now, wait a minute. Wait till I write something out. Okay. It's written. Here.
A note?
Read it. It's an IOU. I don't want you doing too much for nothing.
Talent agent Randy Lomax looked like his black Homburg had grown out of his skull. He was wearing it when I called on him. And what made that so remarkable? The guy was in his pajamas.
All right. I withdraw the assault charge against Maxie Potter on one condition.
Name it.
Maxie jumps off a high building.
You want him dead.
Dead. Or far, far away. Craig, tell you what.
What?
Maxie settles down in the Congo. Permanently. He signs a stipulation to the fact that it is permanent.
Otherwise?
I'll prosecute him to the limit.
Such seething hatred for Maxie. Why?
He's a pest, a menace, a loudmouth, a jerk, and lunatic.
You cost him a girl he was planning to marry.
That's Maxie's hallucination. You go ask Paula Paloma her point of view on Maxie.
Alias Paula Paloma. She's Sadie Sachs.
Look, forget the name Sadie Sachs.
Oh, the public.
We spent thousands advertising the name Paula Paloma.
Paula Paloma from Madrid, Spain.
That's her origin. Her mother was a royal countess. Her father was a fabulous
Her
industrialist.
boyfriend was Maxie Potter of Jersey City.
You deliberately trying to aggravate me.
I came here representing Maxie.
Maxie. Yeah. Let me show you the type of character you got for a client. I had a private detective draw me a diagram of Maxie. A report, Maxie's background, where he came from, why he gets in my hair. How come one man can be so crazy? Here. Cast an eye over this line on a 2-page report.
1949. The Inwood Home. 6 months.
Yeah, the Inwood Home is a sanitarium in Ohio. Maxie's punch drunk. Craig, on my advice, dump Maxie in the North River.
Besides crowning you with a milk bottle in an impetuous moment, what other specific grievance have you against Maxie?
He insults me on the streets. Language that makes my spine crawl. He hires children to throw garbage at me when I pass. And look, in a public restaurant, in front of 100 show people. Show people? My bread and butter, mind you. Maxie pours a plate of soup on my head.
What kind of soup?
Noodle soup. Limp noodles hanging from my brow like excelsior on a Christmas tree. Have I got specific grievances?
Sounds like it.
It's not all so comical. I'm made ridiculous. But I'm also in mortal danger.
How's that?
Threats to kill me.
Threats in what form?
The cowardly form only Punchy Maxie could use. Here, these.
Cartridges. Low caliber.
Low, high, medium. They mean murder. I find them everywhere. On my office desk, on the dining table. They come in the mail. A bullet to a letter. Craig, I'm being hounded into fear and insanity.
Why do you only suspect Maxie?
I got reasons.
Well, let me hear.
All right. These cartridges. They've been identified for me as belonging to Maxie.
Identified by whom?
Paula Paloma.
Sadie Sachs.
Craig. Again, I beg you. Please forget her other name.
I checked Maxie's mental condition with Paula Paloma. Was he ever actually confined to a sanitarium?
The time we were going together twice.
I see. You identified certain cartridges.
Lomax told you, huh?
Lomax did. Why do you say they were Maxie's?
Because I saw the identical ones in Maxie's room at least 50 times. He kept them in a candy jar on his mantelpiece.
Why would Maxie keep cartridges in a candy jar?
Ask Maxie why.
Could Maxie kill Lomax?
Anybody could kill anybody. It's a free country, haven't you heard?
Name somebody besides Maxie who has it in for Lomax.
Daisy?
Who's Daisy?
Lomax's wife. Used to be, I mean. There's a saying, there's no fury...
Like a woman scorned.
That's Daisy. A woman scorned. She'd kill Lomax in a flash.
Other enemies of the great man?
People. A man with Lomax's lust for power must make enemies of the little people.
How do you feel about Lomax?
I worship the ground. He's my good angel, my hero. He took me out of a $40 job as bottle washer.
And made you the toast of New York.
In one short year, I've got furs, a French maid, a Belgian wolfhound, and a bank account. Love that Lomax.
Why don't you tell Maxie you were never serious with him? So he'll stop having delusions and stop bothering Lomax.
Stop bothering Lomax and start bothering me. Better he should bother Lomax. Lomax can take it, I can't. Positively not.
That evening, my client Maxie made no bones about being a little on the weird side.
Sure, I'm spooky. I ever say I wasn't?
No, not in so many words.
Why you looking shocked, Craig?
Well, the fact is, I had you characterized as whimsical, sort of a colorful screwball.
So now you know different.
So you ever get really violent, Maxie?
Every so often. The other day I bit the ear off in the dog.
Why?
The mutt was annoying me, jumping on and off my lap so I couldn't read the racing form. Was I justified?
Maxie.
What?
I don't want to be a fair weather friend, but...
Hey, you're not edging up to ask me to go back to the tombs.
Well, on the loose like this, I'm responsible for you.
So I ain't behaving?
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
How about the cartridges you keep bombarding Lomax with?
Oh, you, know about them, huh?
I know about them.
Well, quit doing it, okay? I don't need to be doing it anymore anyhow.
What does that mean?
Well, I did it to scare Lomax, but Lomax won't scare anymore. Not the way he is.
The way he is? Well, what does that mean?
It means I had a dream just before right after lunch. I dropped off for a snooze, a few fast winks. Anyhow, I had a dream about Lomax. I always dream after pastrami and gherkins. Gherkins is what they call pickles.
Yeah. Well, what did you dream about Lomax?
That he was sleeping like me. Only he wasn't dreaming. Couldn't dream even if he wanted to. Not with all that lead in him.
You dreamed Lomax was dead?
Yeah, in his parlor. His head on the floor and his feet up on the sofa. An upside-down position. A comical look to him. Hey, where you going?
Telephone Lomax. I want to know if you were only dreaming, client.
You're wasting time, Craig. How can a stiff get up to answer the telephone?
Maxie, get your hat. We're both paying Lomax to call.
Sure. Oh, but hey, on the way, let's stop off at a florist, huh? I want to blow $10 on a wreath for Lomax.
I soon discovered that Maxie had uncanny powers of prophecy and divination.
Get off the buzzer. Lomax can't hear it.
Door's locked.
Give it your shoulder.
I'll have to, I guess.
Some light on the subject, huh? Well, is it like I dreamed?
Yeah. Only there's a discrepancy.
What?
You said feet on the sofa and head off.
Yeah, I said.
All of Lomax is on the floor.
Hey, what do you expect from a dream? 100% accuracy?
Oh. Shot through the neck.
And down there, in the ribs.
Maxie, did you do it?
I wished I had.
You may wish you hadn't.
I was asleep in the room, I told you, dreaming. Hey, you going to cause trouble for me?
I should have my head examined for bailing you out of the tombs.
Do that, why don't you? I'm for examining heads, like teeth. Why is a head any different than a tooth, huh?
Maxie, right off, I'm handing you back to whence I got you.
Right off? Take care of Lomax first, huh? He's dead. Show some respect.
With my number one suspect back where I found him, the tombs, I held the crying towel for Sadie Sachs. That is, Paula Paloma.
I'm finished. Through. Everything was going good, and now I'm finished. Through.
So was Lomax finished through.
I'll be back washing bottles. Oh, I knew in my heart my good luck was too good to last.
Lomax's death doesn't necessarily put the kibosh on your career.
Lomax was my career. I'm his invention, his creation. Without him, I'm nobody. Boy, consider what the man did for me.
I've seen the billboards.
He got me elected Miss Gooseberry Pie of 1954, Miss Bottle Drink, and the girl most likely to...
Most likely what?
Oh, I forgot. I'm destroyed. Utterly destroyed. I'm a battleship at sea without an engine. Oh, that Maxie.
Nothing points conclusively to Maxie. That ex-wife of Lomax's.
Daisy.
Do I remember your saying she had it in for him?
She hated him. Everybody on Broadway knows that.
Well, we're off Broadway. Where can I find Daisy?
Stand on any corner and holler. She'll come running. Look, I want to cry myself to death, so stop asking me questions and go away, huh?
I found Daisy behind a beaded curtain. The Chop Suey parlor in Bath Beach, Brooklyn. She was running the joint. A middle-aged lady middleweight with a peroxide bleach and a washed-up look.
So Lomax is dead. So I'm heartbroken. I tell you what, mister. Out of sentiment to my ex, I'll hang a dish rag at half-mast.
What's your burning gripe against your late ex-husband?
I could fill an encyclopedia.
Fill one page.
Girls. Girls and girls. I was a wife always competing with proteges.
But that was Lomax's business, finding talent and building them up to fat contract status.
While Lomax was building up his discoveries, he was building me down, burying me.
You were neglected.
I had to hand Lomax my card so to remember who I was. Nights when he'd come home, he'd hand me his. And a tip. He had me confused with a hat check girl.
Who divorced who?
Me. He sneaked it in through Mexico. I was too demoralized to fight him. He bought me this chop suey parlor so I wouldn't be an alimony load.
Looks like a nice little business.
You don't have to be polite. I net $50 a week, clear. I'm lucky. When I was Mrs. Lomax, I spent $50 a day on cologne.
Life makes changes.
Yeah. Ha! And it just did for Lomax. He'll turn over in his grave.
What does that mean?
That phony baloney Mexican divorce. I was never notified. I never agreed to it. I never signed nothing. Tomorrow I'm calling up Greenspan and Kilroy. They're my lawyers. I'm ordering them to move to have the divorce canceled. Junked.
Why would you want to resume being Mrs. Lomax?
Guess.
To be his legal widow, huh?
To get my dowry rights in his estate.
Smart. It all kind of brings you under suspicion.
How so?
If you can turn death to profit, that underlines a motive for murder.
So it underlines, so I'm laughing. Huh. Do you want a real suspect?
I do?
Shipley. Harry Shipley.
Who's he?
Confidential secretary in the Marathon Wonder Enterprises, Incorporated. That's Lomax's company. There was bad blood between Shipley and Lomax.
Then why would Lomax keep Shipley on?
I was never sure. Something Shipley had on Lomax and vice versa, something Lomax had on Shipley. You never knew Lomax. Nobody did. He was always underhanded. Nothing with Lomax was ever clean cut out in the open. When's Lomax's funeral?
The police will release the body for burial tonight. The funeral's tomorrow at 10 a.m.
I'll be there. As his legal widow. You be there, too, and watch Shipley. Never mind Lomax in his coffin, just watch Shipley. Watch him, and you'll see a happy man. Happy because Lomax is dead.
I hadn't exactly planned on attending the funeral.
Attend. This funeral will be good for you.
How so?
Perk you up, forget your troubles, make you glad to be alive. Simply delighted.
At funerals, sometimes the skies smile. Other times they don't. Thunderbirds, rain and buckets. Skies weren't smiling a bit. But Shipley was. Grins as wide as a poster advertising a Coney Island funhouse. I'd seen guys smile before. Sweepstakes winners, fathers of quintuplets. DiMaggio when he married La Monroe. Never in my life before had I seen a smile as big as the one on Shipley's kisser. There was no eulogy at Lomax's grave, like nobody had a good word to say about him. Later, in a tavern a stone's throw from the cemetery gates, Shipley let on he didn't either have a good word to say about his late boss, Lomax.
As long as you're buying drinks, Mr. Craig.
Hey, bartender, another orangeade for my friend. You were saying, Shipley?
Rotten egg, that Lomax. Money was his god.
What did he have on you? Come on, Daisy told me a few things.
I owed him money.
You owed the till, you mean, huh? You did a little embezzling? How much did you borrow from Lomax and all?
$22,000.
Why didn't he can you, or jail you, or both?
Well, I had knowledge that was disadvantageous to Lomax.
What? Come on, talk up, Shipley. I'm trying to satisfy myself that you didn't murder Lomax.
Income tax evasion. As confidential secretary, I knew the truth about Lomax's books.
Yes, you would. Shipley.
Yeah?
Take me to the offices of Marathon Wonder Enterprises. Show me Lomax's books and stuff, huh?
Well...
It's all on my responsibility, Shipley. You're doing it involuntarily. I'm making you do it. Anybody asks you, that's your excuse. I'm the beast, forcing you to be unethical toward a dead boss. Let's go. After 4 hours of snooping at the Marathon Wonder Enterprises, I got to know Lomax's business so intimately it would send a chill through Lomax. If he were alive, that is.
I've done my very best to acquaint you.
You've been a real help. Lucrative racket, Lomax's.
His estate, when audited, will easily total $1 million.
Well, all for talent scouting.
Ownership of talent. Lomax wasn't only a 10%er.
No, he wasn't. That much became clear tonight. He signed talent to 10-year contracts with renewal options on lopsided terms. Lopsided in favor of Lomax.
Mm-hmm. One Lomax property, the actor Baxter Burroughs, now with Clinton Pictures, made more than $250,000 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I read those figures.
Had Lomax lived, he was certain to make an equivalent or greater sum through Paula Paloma.
Sadie Sachs. Oh, let's see that letter again, huh?
Yeah, here you are.
From the Mecca Elwyn Bayer Motion Picture Company.
A firm offer of a 7-year contract to Paula Paloma.
At $4,000 a week, scaling upwards every year.
I'd say that's the best contract offer Lomax ever received for any talent he represented.
$4,000 a week with Lomax in for half.
Half plus certain expenses. Lomax was a genius at adding expenses. The 50% generally became closer to 70.
Bad time to die, with money coming at him from all sides. Thanks, Shipley. It's been enlightening.
Wait, Mr. Craig.
What?
The money I borrowed from Lomax, I've been repaying it so much a week for years now.
How much still outstanding?
Oh, a relatively small sum, really negligible.
Then I guess you've got nothing to worry about, Shipley.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
Daisy, Maxie, Shipley, Paula. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whodunit. Maxie tried to simplify the guesswork for me. He tossed a bombshell at me through Paula.
Read this.
Love letter from an admirer?
From Maxie in the Tombs, a human document. Mr. Craig, it's the cry of a tortured soul.
Dear Sadie. Well, very interesting stuff.
So what do you think?
Maxie himself write this?
It's Maxie's handwriting. Well, say something.
It's a little incredible. In the letter, Maxie apologizes to you for murdering Lomax.
It cost me a dear friend and advisor. Now Maxie's sorry.
If true, this amounts to a confession.
It's true. Why shouldn't it be true? It's Maxie's own statement, his own words. Nobody forced him.
Maxie being Maxie, you can't blame me for taking him with a box of salt, huh? Wrap the body beautiful in the mink doll. We're paying a formal visit to Maxie. We found Maxie dining on caviar and chopped onions.
All the eating's good in here.
Caviar on the prison menu?
A Ladies' Benevolent Society come through to give me this caviar and a cigar. Oh, hey, I forgot. How you, Sadie?
The name's Paula.
This letter you sent Paula. Still stand by what it says, Maxie?
Yeah, sure. So I murdered Lomax. What can they do to me?
Fry you.
Like fish. Am I responsible for what I do?
Aren't you?
I got a record that says I ain't.
So you figure to beat the rap by pleading insanity.
Insanity for the time being. Only while I shot Lomax. All of a sudden, I blanked out. When I come to, there was Lomax dead on the floor and a smoking gun in my hand.
Where's the gun?
But forget, I threw it away someplace.
Nice try, Maxie. It proves something.
Proves what?
That knighthood is still in flower for a price.
For price?
Whatever Paula here promised you for taking the heat off her.
Paula promised?
Hey, what kind of booby talk? Mr. Craig, I must say I resent the insinuation.
Not insinuation, doll. Accusation.
You're accusing me?
Of getting Maxie to take the chance of a temporary insanity plea for a murder you did.
Craig, you're more gone than me. Why would Sadie here, excuse me, Paula, why would Paula here want to knock off Lomax, the best friend she had?
For money. To recover 100% of herself. Paula.
What?
Your $1 million future with the movies. How much of a piece did Lomax have? I mean, while he was alive.
Well, the usual 10%.
Lomax wasn't a 10%er.
I mean, half.
Half plus. Expenses off the top. For the build-up he gave you. Quite a bill there. Lomax knew how to run up astronomical figures. The way I calculated it in Lomax's office a few hours ago, you'd be working years for Lomax. All for Lomax, very little for you. You'd have a showcase, Lomax would keep all the marbles. How did a sensitive young lady of your refinement bring herself to shoot a man down in cold blood?
All of a sudden, Sadie blanked out. When she come to, there was Lomax, dead.
It was a pleasure shooting Lomax, a regular picnic. Lomax had it all fixed for me to be his slave. Well, I'm nobody's slave.
You'll tell your story, Sadie, how you killed a rat and a conniver who came between us. The judge will bawl like a kid. The jury won't even go out. Not guilty, Sadie. That's the verdict for sure.
Suppose you two stay here and make plans. I've got to see a man about a murder.
Mr. Craig, you're not leaving me here.
Oh, an affectionate couple like you and Maxie, made for each other. A housekeeping cell for two. Kids, I don't know a cheaper way for a loving couple to get started in life. So long now. Hey, God, open up.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, For Love of Murder, was written by John Robert. Next week, it's the strange story of Death's Bargain Basement, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
We call next week's story Death's Bargain Basement. It takes place in a department store because, as you all know, bargain basements are always found in department stores. But so, on occasion, is death. Good night, folks. See you next week.
The National Broadcasting Company has just brought you an NBC Radio Network production with William Gargan, starring as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator, directed by Arthur Jacobson. Also heard were Barney Phillips, Tom McKee, Barbara Fuller, Gloria Ann Simpson, and Herb Ellis. Eddie King speaking. There's another exciting Dragnet adventure tonight on the NBC Radio Network.
Welcome back. It's funny that when Gargan mentions a Runyanesque character, because those of us who, if you've been listening to the extras, you heard one of his performances on the Good News Show, where he played a character literally created by Damon Runyon, and actually starred in a movie as Joe Turp, a Damon Runyon character. Speaking of William Gargan, actually we're going to get into our comment. This comes from listener Tom, who says, Adam, I made a $50 donation through a PayPal link on your website last night. Didn't see a place where I could leave you a message, so I thought I'd send an email today. One thing that confused me was the King Kilt's email address you're using, but then I remembered it from my last donation. I apologize for that. That was a business my wife was running a while back. Have not figured out how to change the name or email address through PayPal. Anyway, he goes on to say, I thoroughly enjoy Great Detectives, having listened to many of the shows when I was a kid, particularly when my father was stationed in Newfoundland during the early 1930s. Radio was all they had. Took decades before they finally built a TV station. And now they help me get to sleep at night, and have been especially useful while I was in the hospital many times. I like the way you decide to present them chronologically, and like your background comments. I have a comment on William Gargan, who plays Barrie Craig. If he was around still, I'd be doing my darndest to thank him. My parents were both 3-pack-a-day smokers. My father even smoked unfiltered Camels. One night in the late 1960s, My mother was watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. His first guest was Bill Gargan. My mother was a big fan of his from the Detective Martin Caine days, when she saw him speaking from the hole in his throat because his larynx had been removed from cancer. She quit smoking cold turkey that very minute. A month later, after her sense of smell returned, she got my father to do the same thing. She showed him the formerly white rag she was using to clean the paneling of the family room. I knew that added years to their lives. My mother later said that one of her biggest regrets was subjecting us kids to all that secondhand smoke, mainly during car rides. Anyway, thanks again for the great podcast. Well, thanks so much for your email, Tom. And usually I don't talk a lot about, the ultimate fates and how a lot of the some of the actors died in their ends, because it's not often a happy ending. But Gargan really was it was an inspiring story. He had actually kind of gone into a state of semi-retirement, and he came out of retirement to do, in 1960, to do a stage play where he was playing, I believe it was called The Best Man. He was playing a dying ex-president. And, in one way it was somewhat humorous because he was, because he really looked realistic as this very sick ex-president. The reason he looked so realistic was because he actually had cancer. And, he went into the doctor and he made a decision, life was at risk, to go ahead and have the voice box removed. And it was a very difficult decision because his voice had been so much of his life. And his first day home out of the hospital, they had a guy there repairing the television. And while this guy was repairing the television, an old Bill Gargan movie came on the screen, and it just, it got him so mad and upset. He dealt with and struggled a lot with self-pity and, feelings of, inadequacy. But he managed to find a new life for himself, with his faith and with a dedication to helping other folks who were going through cancer. He actually visited with and encouraged people who were, experiencing the same sort of shock that he was, of losing that voice box. And he learned, how to talk again with esophageal speech. It was an incredible, inspiring story, and managed to really just become a huge crusader against cancer, and also advising kids not to take up smoking. And really, he lived, he lived into the late 1970s and continued to have that sort of, that passion for helping people and working through that whole experience of cancer. If you put in an interlibrary loan, you can read his whole autobiography. Loved it. It's called Why Me by William Gargan. You can also find it used on like half.com or Amazon. It's just a great read about first part about his life in Hollywood and how he managed to make it as an actor, and then how he managed to find a new life outside of acting. All right, well, that will do it for today. Join us tomorrow. We're going to have Murder Clinic with a Poirot mystery. And then join us back here on Monday for William Gargan and Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator. Well, this episode is brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. Thank you so much for all of your support. I also want to especially thank Erica and Lisa for sending along their donations. And as we do with all donations of $7 or more, we'll send along access to our premium site. And on our premium site today, we have our second Agatha Christie app special. The ABC mysteries were originally a Poirot mystery story. However, it was done on suspense without Poirot or a real strong detective lead. So you get to experience the ABC murders. It's kind of like Poirot without Poirot. So for those of you with the premium site, that's available. Well, we're going to take a look at another episode of Murder Clinic. Last time we played Murder Clinic, it was on our 550th episode special. And in that special, we played the episode The Scrap of Lace with Madame Rosica's story. Now we have a Poirot Murder Clinic episode. This one is actually one of 5 that were adapted Agatha Christie stories. Others were done with Parker Pyne and Miss Marple, though there were 3 Poirot stories. One I personally would like to hear, because I like the story with the Yellow Iris. But the one we have is The Tragedy at Marsden Manor. And the other one's the Triangle at Rhodes. This episode stars Maurice Tarplin as Poirot. Tarplin is best known as the narrator on that horror anthology show, Mysterious Traveler. But he was also a novelist and very just well respected in the radio field. But anyway, from October 6, 1942, is The Tragedy at Marsden Manor.
Murder Clinic. Stories of the world's great detectives of fiction. Men Against Murder. Each week at this time, WOR Mutual turns the spotlight on one of the great figures of crime detection and brings you his most exciting case. Tonight, Agatha Christie's unique detective Hercule Poirot in The Tragedy at Marsden Manor. Evening, Monsieur Poirot. I'd recognize you anywhere, I think, thanks to those magnificent mustachios of yours.
Merci bien. They are very magnificent, no?
They are indeed. Tell me, did they help you solve the tragedy at Marsden Manor?
No. It was the little gray cells in the brain of the great Hercule Poirot that prevented this great miscarriage of justice in the death of Richard Maltravers of Marsden Manor. It all began in the little village of Marsden Lane, less than 100 kilometers from London.
Coming. Yes, what is it?
Are you Dr. Bernard?
Yes, I am.
Come quick, the master's done for.
You mean Mr. Maltravers of the Manor?
Aye, the master. The mistress, she says, fetch the doctor, she says. But it bean't no use. He's a dead un. I knows a dead un when I see un.
What was it, man? An accident?
No, bean't no accident. I found him in the lower meadow, with the blood running out of his mouth. Be a stroke.
A stroke?
That's what it be.
Well, hurry, man, let go. Come now, Mrs. Maltravers. You must get hold of yourself. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. After all, we are all of us mortal.
But why, Richard? He was so good, so kind. Why did this have to happen to him?
Oh, come, please.
He seemed so well, so full of life. Why, only last week he passed a medical examination for insurance. How could he have died so suddenly? Doctor, what happened?
A hemorrhage due to stomach ulcers, undoubtedly, resulting in a stroke.
Bonjour, Mr. right.
Hello, Poirot.
You know my good friend Captain Hastings, no?
Good morning, Captain Hastings.
Morning, sir.
Well, Poirot, you got my message, I see.
I did. What is it that disturbs you, mon ami? Richard Maltravers dies? You sent for Poirot. What was the cause of Monsieur Maltravers' death?
The death certificate says a hemorrhage resulting in a stroke due to stomach ulcers.
But surely you did not bring Papa Poirot here to talk of the stomach ulcers. This Richard Maltravers had taken out the insurance policy in your company, no?
And what a policy. For £50,000.
Well, good square sum, that, huh?
Rather.
So, what is it you wish me to do? It is unfortunate for your company, but everything seems, how you say, open and above the plank, no?
No, Poirot. Open and above board.
Ah, my good friend, the great Hastings. Always he corrects the English of Hercule Poirot. Monsieur Wright, I ask you, do I not speak the English of a super?
You do indeed. But to get back to your previous question, what my company wishes you to do is to investigate the circumstances of Mr. Maltravers' death.
So, what is it you suspect, mon ami?
Well, of course, you know in the case of suicide, the policy is invalid.
Yes.
And when a man past the prime of life takes out an unusually large policy in favor of a young wife half his age and then dies within 2 weeks, the possibility of suicide cannot be ignored.
Oh, with certainty, mon ami. But suicide by hemorrhage? That is a queer saucepan of fish. Now, if the cause of death had been heart failure, then I would smell a mouse. Heart failure can always mean that a stupid doctor did not find the true cause. But hemorrhage, ma foi, hemorrhage is, well, hemorrhage.
Exactly. Nevertheless, we are determined to proceed with the matter. You will undertake the inquiry?
But of course. Hastings, that great professor of English, shall go with me. Eh, mon ami?
Gladly, Poirot.
Eh bien. Now, where is this place, this Marsden Manor?
You take the Great Eastern Line from Liverpool Station to the little town of Marsden Lee. Marsden Manor is about a mile from the village.
Marsden Lee. All right, Hastings, we go.
Well, so this is Marsden Lee, eh? I hope we can get a conveyance up to the manor.
Tickets, sir.
Here you are, my friend.
I suppose you'll be coming down for the funeral, sir?
Funeral? What funeral?
You say you made a funeral of Master Maltravers. About the manor.
Oh. You say the manor? Could that be Marsden Manor?
Aye, it be.
That is an odd coincidence. My friend and I, we have come down with a thought of buying this Marsden Manor.
You couldn't pay me to live there, you couldn't.
Why not?
It be haunted.
Haunted?
Aye, haunted. Seen things there, folks says.
Yeah, we shall see. Now, could you tell us where a Dr. Bernard lives?
Aye, up yon hill, about half a mile.
Well, come, Hastings. I understand, Dr. Bernard, that you signed the death certificate of a Mr. Richard Maltravers.
Yes, I did.
You understand, Doctor, with such a big policy, we must make the careful investigation.
Of course. I suppose he was such a rich man, his life was insured for a big sum,
You consider him a rich man, Doctor?
Well, was he not? He kept 2 cars, you know, and Marsden Manor is a pretty big place to keep up. Although I believe he bought it very cheaply.
I understand he had considerable losses of late.
That's so, indeed. It's fortunate for his widow, then, that there is this insurance.
Yes.
Very beautiful and charming young creature, but terribly unstrung by this sad catastrophe. I've tried to spare her all I could, but of course the shock has been very great.
Why shock? These ulcers of the stomach, they are what you call chronic,
Yes.
They are not sudden.
No.
Did you not attend Mr. Maltravers before, Doctor?
My dear sir, I never attended him.
What?
I understand Mr. Maltravers was a member of a faith-healing sect.
But you examined the body?
Certainly. I was fetched by one of the under gardeners.
And the cause of death was clear?
Absolutely. There was blood on the lips, but most of the bleeding must have been internal.
He had not been moved?
No, the body hadn't been touched. He had evidently been out shooting crows, and a long-barreled bird gun lay beside him. The hemorrhage must have occurred quite suddenly. Gastric ulcers, without a doubt.
He could not have been shot, huh?
My dear sir.
I beg pardon. But I remember once a doctor who said heart failure until the constable showed him a bullet wound for the head.
You will find no bullet wounds on the body or head of Mr. Maltravers. Now, gentlemen, if there's nothing further...
I thank you, doctor. Just one more thing. You saw no need for the autopsy, huh?
Certainly not. The cause of death was perfectly clear. In my profession, we see no need to distress unduly the relatives of a dead patient. Now, gentlemen, if you'll pardon me, good day.
Well, Hastings, what do you think of our good Dr. Bernard?
Bit of an old fool.
Precisely. Your judgments of character are always profound, mon ami, except where a young and beautiful woman is concerned. So now you must mind your Q's and P's, because the good doctor has said that the next one we see is both young and beautiful. This Madame Maltravers. Madame Maltravers, I cannot tell you how I am sorry to bother you in this way.
Must I be bothered now? I know nothing about this insurance of my husband.
Courage, madame, it is necessary. I will do all to make this matter not too unpleasant for you. I, Hercule Poirot, swear it. Now, if you would recount briefly the sad events of last Wednesday, huh?
Well, I was changing for tea when the maid came up. One of the gardeners had just run up to the house. He'd found Richard.
Oh, I comprehend. Enough. You had seen your husband earlier in the afternoon?
No, not since lunch. I'd walked down to the village for some stamps. I believe he was out pottering around the grounds.
Shooting the crows, no?
Yes, so I understand. He usually took his bird gun with him. In fact, I heard one or two shots at a distance.
So? Where is this bird gun now?
In the gun cabinet over there, I suppose.
With your permission, madame. Bien, here it is. Ah. 2 shots fired, I see. And now, madame, a delicate question. Monsieur Maltravers, your husband, is awaiting burial, I believe?
Yes. He's lying in his room.
If I might see?
Why, yes, of course. It's the first room at the top of the stairs. You'll forgive me if I don't go with you.
What, of course. Hastings, you remain here with madame.
Do you think Mr. Poirot will understand why I didn't go with him?
I can assure you, Mrs. Maltravers, Poirot is most sympathetic.
I don't doubt it, Mr. Hastings. I only wish there was more that I could tell him.
Oh, I understand. But I wonder, Mrs. Maltravers, if you could tell me one thing.
Oh, yes?
Well, the station master, an odd character named Volk, said something about Marsden Manor being haunted.
Marsden Manor haunted? Why, surely you're joking, Mr. Hastings.
Oh, no, I assure you. He told us that people have seen things.
We must have been referring to my humble experiments in extrasensory perception. I've always been tremendously intrigued by that subject, and doubtless some of our servants have been gossiping.
Madame, you are mediumistic. How fascinating.
Oh, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, Mr. Poirot. I've dabbled a bit, that's all.
So?
I've managed table levitation and simple things like that. But I suppose to the simple rustics around here, it looks like black magic.
Very interesting. Under kinder circumstances, I would implore a demonstration.
Why, are you interested in such things, Mr. Poirot?
All fields of knowledge interest the great Poirot.
Poirot, don't you think perhaps we'd better...
Oh, I forgot, madame. I thank you for your so great courtesy. I do not think you need be bothered any further by the matter. By the way, do you know anything of your husband's financial position?
Nothing whatever, I'm afraid. I'm very stupid about business.
I see. Then you can give us no clue as to why your husband suddenly decided to insure his life.
Oh, was it sudden? I'm sure I don't know.
Enfin. And now, with your permission, madame, we will go. Hastings?
Oh, I'll see you to the door.
Merci. Oh, just one more thing, madame. Could you tell me, when they found Mr. Maltravers, did they find him unshod, without the shoes?
Why, really, Mr. Poirot, I don't understand.
It is nothing. It does not matter. And now, madame, adieu.
Oh, but look, you have another visitor. Someone is coming up to walk, huh?
Archie!
Hello,
You! Why, I thought you were on your way back to Australia.
Yes, I was. But I read the news of Uncle's death in Paris and hurried back. Emily, my dear, is there anything I can do for you? Anything?
Oh, of course not. What could you do? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. Mr. Poirot, this is Captain Black, my husband's nephew. Captain Black, Mr. Hastings.
How down? Emily, how did this happen? Uncle seemed perfectly well when I was here Monday night.
You've evidently read the papers, Archie. You must know what happened.
But they gave no details, just the bare notice of his death. What happened?
Archie, I just can't go through all that again.
Yes, Captain Black, I'm afraid my friend and I, we have disturbed Madame.
What are you doing here?
I am Hercule Poirot, the Hercule Poirot.
Mr. Poirot is from the insurance company, Archie.
That's just why I've come back. To protect you from annoyances like this.
Shouldn't have risked your job, Archie. If you left right away, you might still get to Paris in time to make your boat train.
You say Paris, mon capitaine. You go to Australia by way of Paris?
Why, yes. I intended taking the Orient Express from there and pick up the Pacific Mail at Port Said.
Ah, oui. That shortens the journey, does it not? You are staying here, Captain Black?
Yes, I'm staying at the Pig and Thistle. That's the inn down in the village.
Ah, village inn. It serves the roast beef, no?
Why, yes, I suppose so.
Good. So, Hastings, let us try this roast beef at the Pig and Thistle, huh?
All right, Poirot. Now you've had your roast beef. Hadn't we better be getting back to London?
No, not so fast, my good Hastings. London, she will not run away. But this Captain Black, he may do so. Garçon!
For heaven's sake, Poirot. English inns don't have garçons.
No? Then who is it who approaches?
What do you have, Governor?
For my friend, the dictionary. For me, a bock.
He means beer, George.
I mean the ale.
Right, Governor. You've been up at the Manor, sir?
I mean, yes, we have.
A sad business, that. I knew no good had come of it as soon as they took the Manor.
You mean this, Maltravers? They were not popular?
Well, not that, Governor. He was a bit too old for her, if you know what I mean.
Awesome.
She might better have married the nephew. Leastways, I'll bet Bob the nephew thought so.
Ah, there has been the gossip, huh?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as that, Governor. But he did hang around a bit.
And the husband, Mr. Maltravers? He object?
Not as I knows of, Governor. But I is my opinion, I is.
Without a doubt, it is the worst opinion, no, George? But the Captain Black, here he comes now.
Hello, Poirot. Here you are.
Captain Black, come, will you not join us? Bock, perhaps?
Yes, thanks. I don't mind if I do. Waiter, a mug of ale.
Hello, Governor.
Sad business, this death of your uncle, huh?
Yes, and so sudden, too. He seemed in excellent health when I dined with him Monday night.
So? And was he also in good spirits? What did he say? Of what was the talk at this dinner Monday night?
Oh, I don't know. The usual general topics.
I see.
My uncle asked about my people. We talked of Australia.
Yes.
Then Mrs. Maltravers asked a lot of questions about East Africa, where I've spent some time. I told them one or two yarns. That's about all, I think.
Madame Maltravers seems much upset at the death of her husband, no?
Naturally. They've been married less than a year.
So I hear. A remarkable woman, this lady.
Remarkable in what way? What do you mean?
She has, how you say, the seeing eye. I hear her tell Hastings she does the seance. He seems most interested, no, Hastings?
Oh, I wouldn't go so far as that.
Always the conservative Hastings. Me? I am not so.
Why, Mr. Poirot, don't tell me you believe in this psychic stuff.
Oh, I have not a closed mind. For example, Captain Black, you have told us all that your conscious self knows. Now, with your permission, I would question your subconscious, huh?
Psychoanalysis, eh? Well, it's nonsense, but I don't mind.
Merci. It is like this. I give you a word. You answer with another word. Any word. The first word you think of. Eh bien, shall we begin?
Go ahead.
Hastings, note down the words, please.
Very well, Poirot.
Now. Day.
Night.
Name.
Place.
Bernard.
Sure.
Monday.
Dinner.
Journey.
Ship.
Country.
Uganda.
Story.
Lions.
Bird gun.
Farm.
Shot.
Suicide.
Elephant.
Tusks.
Money.
Lawyers.
So, that is all. You are a good subject, mon capitaine.
You don't mean to tell me that rigmarole means anything to you?
Maybe not. But nevertheless, you are a good subject.
Well, if you don't need me anymore, I think I'll go upstairs and unpack. Shall I see you again before you leave, Mr. Poirot?
Yes, I should not be surprised.
Good. See you later.
Au revoir, mon capitaine. And now, my clever Hastings, you see it all, no?
Well, I don't know what you mean, Poirot.
Does that list of words tell you nothing?
Sorry, I'm afraid it doesn't.
Then I will assist you. To begin with, the Capitaine answered within the time limit. No pauses, no making up the mind. Day to night and place to name are normal associations. Then I give him Bernard, the name of the doctor, if he knew him. Evidently he does not. When I say Bernard, he says sure. Monday means dinner, country is Uganda. Story recalls the lion story he tells them. All natural. But now, notice. When I mention bird gun, I get the unexpected answer, farm. When I say shot, he answers at once, suicide. A man he knows commits suicide with a bird gun on a farm somewhere. Imbecile that I am! The great Hercule Poirot is hoodwinked.
What are you talking about?
Do you not see Hastings? That is the story the Captain Black told at the dinner Monday night.
Oh, I see. And you think that gave Maltravers the idea? You think he shot himself in the mouth with that bird gun?
Why not? Remember, the bird gun has a very tiny charge of powder. The bullet would remain lodged in the brain. All that would show would be the blood in the mouth. Come, Hastings. It is not too late.
Of course, but where?
To see once more this dead man. To Marsden Manor. Hastings, to Marsden Manor. Alas, Mrs. Maltravers, it is true. Your husband shot himself through the mouth with the bird gun.
You mean suicide?
It would seem so, madame.
But the insurance...
Naturally, madame, the suicide will void the policy. It is unfortunate, but what will you?
Oh, but this is impossible. My husband would never commit suicide. It's inconceivable.
But the evidence, madame, it is conclusive.
No. There must be some other explanation.
You mean murder, madame? Well, of course, that is always possible. But no, not likely, I'm afraid.
But you do admit it's possible. You just said it was possible.
Yes, of course, everything is possible. Have you any idea who might have wished to kill your husband?
Why, no. No, I haven't.
Madame, I have a suggestion. It is bizarre, no doubt, but perhaps if you are willing to help.
Oh, yes, of course, anything.
Madame, you are mediumistic. Perhaps if you would try,
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I could get through to Richard. He might tell us what happened.
I am sure you could do it, madame.
Yes, I'll do it. Come back here tonight at 8 and bring Captain Black with you.
Eh bien, madame, I am sure you will succeed. Until 8, madame, au revoir.
Hello? Dubois Theatrical Agency? Henri Dubois. This is Hercule Poirot. Dear mon ami, Henri, I have a part for you. For one appearance only. Oui, as always. Now listen closely. This is what I wish you to do. Dr. Bernard, this is Hercule Poirot. Tell me, doctor, when you saw Mr. Maltravers after the stroke, did he have on the shoes? He did? Bien, merci. Hello, Scotland Yard. Inspector Japp, please. Hello, Japp. This is Poirot. Quite well, thank you. Inspector, I think I have a murderer for you. No, there is no time to explain. on did I call, eh? Good, remember. Marsden Manor, edit.
Madame Atrovers, we are on time, as you see. Hastings and I have brought Captain Black with us.
I say, there's a bad storm coming up. Would that interfere with the experiment?
Certainly not, Mr. Hastings. This isn't mumbo-jumbo. The weather has nothing to do with it.
Well, let us proceed, huh?
Yes. Now, will you draw chairs up around this table, please? Now, Mr. Hastings, if you'll put out the lights.
Certainly.
Now, remain perfectly quiet, please, no matter what you hear or see. Richard. Can you hear me, Richard? Can you hear me? If you can, rap. Rap 3 times. Did you hear that?
But of course, madame. Did you not tell him to rap 3 times?
That's how Richard always used to knock.
Perhaps he is outside.
No.
They say the suicide never rests, always returns.
Listen. What was that?
The front door slammed.
What? No, Captain Black. It was but the thunder.
Poirot, I hear footsteps.
It's the wind, madame. I will close the door. I have locked it.
Don't do that. If it should open now.
Jove, it is open.
He's there. There in the doorway.
I see nothing, madame.
I saw him, I tell you. My husband, you must have seen him too.
Look. She's right. He is there.
His hand. Look, it's pointing. What's that light coming from?
It's pointing at her.
What did you... Her hand. Her right hand. It is scarlet with blood.
Blood? Yes, it's blood. I killed him. I said it. Take him away. Take him away.
Light!
Good heavens, Poirot. She's got away through that window.
Do not worry, mon capitaine. The good Inspector Japp outside will stop her.
Good heavens, that lovely creature, a murderer.
And a very clever one, my susceptible Hastings. After all, she could not know she would come up against the great Hercule Poirot. And she might even have fooled me if she had only taken off his shoe.
His shoe, Poirot?
Only with his toe could he himself have pulled the trigger of this bird gun. And parbleu, his shoes were still on when they found him.
But I don't understand. This seance, was it all fake?
Mais certainement. She meant to pull the sheep. Wool. Very well, wool. But it was I who pulled the sheep's wool over her eyes. Thanks to my good friend Henri Dubois, who played the part of the husband's ghost, and Papa Poirot, who put the red paint on her hand in the dark.
But what was her idea in having this seance?
Parbleu, mon capitaine. Do you not see? Madame, she will go into the trance. She will hear the voice. She will come out from the trance. She will, with a great reluctance, name the murderer.
You mean she meant to confess?
Mais non, mon capitaine. She meant to name you.
You have been listening to Murder Clinic. Murder Clinic, the WOR Mutual series which brings to you each week one exciting case. Tonight, the tragedy of Marsden Manor, with Agatha Christie's unique detective Hercule Poirot, played by Maurice Tarplin. Next week, Murder Clinic will bring you Fred Irving Anderson's Deputy Farr, the Vermont farmer who became chief of the Homicide Bureau in New York City. Deputy Farr, the man with the nose for murder. The story is Gulfstream Green, in which the deputy proves that the conceit of murderers is colossal. Original music was composed by Ralph Barnhart and conducted by Bob Stanley. This program was an international exchange feature over the coast-to-coast network of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Tales told on Murder Clinic are adaptations by authors Lee Wright and John A. Bassett. Murder Clinic is produced under the direction of Alvin Flanagan. Frank Knight speaking.
Welcome back. Well, Tarplin's French accent or Belgian accent sounded really French. But I guess it was good enough for Americans in 1942, kind of in the middle of World War II, early part of it. So probably most hadn't heard a Belgian accent. But anyway, that'll actually do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Let George Do It. And next week, we'll get into the first of 9 episodes in Poirot's own radio mystery series for Mutual. Well, today's episode is called Let George Do It. It's brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. Thank you so much for all of your support. And today's episode of Let George Do It is called The Bookworm Turns.
Personal notice, changes my stock and trade. If the job's too tough for you to handle, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Standard Oil Company of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invite you to Let George Do It. The Bookworm Turns, another adventure of George Valentine.
My dear Mr. Valentine, I am the owner of a small bookshop. If you are familiar at all with rare editions, I am sure you will recognize my name, Paul Jacobs Humber. Well, I need your advice. You've heard of bookworms, haven't you? Of Abraham Lincoln's study by candlelight, of students rioting to keep libraries open so that men may learn. Well, for the past 2 nights, my shop has been broken into. But I simply can't bring myself to call the police because nothing is stolen. Not a book, not a penny from the cash register. So you must be with me tonight by 10 o'clock. Because, Mr. Valentine, I believe I am being visited by the most ardent bookworm of them all. A man who jimmies a window merely for the purpose of reading my books. Yes, reading. But reading what? And why?
Well, you certainly have enough books, Mr. Homer. Don't you ever sell any?
Well, these racks go out in front when the shop is open, Miss Brooks. Careful, careful.
$6 for $1, huh?
But if we're trying to surprise anyone, it seems to me...
Oh, no, he's never broken in this early. I've often stayed here myself till 10 or 11, Mr. Valentine.
You never seen the guy yourself, huh? Only why do I say guy? Why do you say he?
Here, there's an aisle through here. Just follow me. I don't want to turn the lights on.
Mr. Humber, why do you...
I heard you, yes. I am just guessing, that's all.
Uh-huh. Is that the window over there?
No. The window on the other side of the stockroom.
Alley entrance, huh?
Yes. Here, my office is in here. We can wait a while.
You mean curl up with a book and wait all night?
Oh, he'll be here.
What in the... Sounds more like a music store.
Oh, come on.
Hello, Hall. I've been waiting for...
Rosa.
I was just listening to some phonograph records.
This is Miss Brooks, Mr. Valentine, Mrs. Coolidge, wife of my assistant Otto here in the shop. She does some of my bookkeeping, too.
Oh, how do you do? Hello. Oh, Otto had to go uptown to see somebody. We live right next door, the little apartment.
Mrs. Coolidge doesn't have a phonograph in her apartment. We have records here, too, a few of them.
I understand. Well, she can join the party and help us.
Mrs. Coolidge isn't the bookworm type, is she?
What?
Huh? Oh, no. She wouldn't be the one. I mean, she has her own keys.
What is all this? Oh, I'm in the way, aren't I, Mr. Humber?
Well, it's something I didn't mention, that's all, Rosa.
Are you married, Mr. Humber?
I beg your pardon? Oh, no, I'm not, but...
Shh. Huh?
Well, excuse me now. I'll be leaving if you...
Be quiet.
Oh, won't someone tell me what on earth...
Stop it. You hear that, Valentine?
Yeah.
It wasn't a car in the alley. I'm sure of that. No, it's from back someplace. Stockroom.
What are you listening for? Will you please...
Come on, through here.
Yeah. A little early, though, isn't it? For your bookworm to arrive.
There, you see it? A light?
Yeah, flashlight. Get out of the way.
Get him!
Get home, Mr. Humber.
Well, I thought you saw...
I saw the shade on the door glass blowing, that's all. But the door's been forced, all right. Still open.
He's already gone. He must have heard us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, looks that way.
He ran out and down the alley. You see, it is true, Mr. Valentine, every night.
Get the light switch.
Oh, yes. But look around. Nothing is touched again. Nothing's ever touched. Here, you see? A new set of first editions just in from Boston, and not even disturbed. Mr. Valentine?
Right here, Mr. Humber. That's where I saw the flashlight.
What?
Your visitor seems to be interested in old books, not new ones. Believe it or not, you're right. He apparently was reading. This book is still open.
Well, let me see. What is it?
Oh, what some power the gifty gives to see ourselves as others see us.
Robert Burns? Burns? Why should I know why anybody should like Robert Burns? My background is a printer, Mr. Valentine, not the Oxford Book of English Words.
Okay, Otto. I waited to see you because I thought you might have noticed something unusual.
I am handyman, shelf duster, and salesman in the shop. Should I have time to notice anything?
For 3 nights running, somebody's been breaking in here.
To read books. To read books! What is wrong with that? What would you like? People should only watch television?
Oh, now look.
I know I don't help you. My wife don't help you. It is late. I'm tired. But this Humber, my boss, don't you understand? He is what you call persecution with complexes.
A what?
Always and everything he sees a mystery. So somebody should break in to read. He should make something of this. Always make something of everything. Why should he worry? There is no damage, is there? No damage
All right,
to his...
skip it, Otto, skip it. You say nobody's up to anything, huh? No damage to Mr. Humber? Why worry?
What do you
But
mean?
Burns is the word, all right.
Burns?
Can't you tell a fire engine when you hear one? And what do you think that smoke's coming from? Come on, let's get out of here.
Only nothing's been damaged, George. Somebody broke into Humber's store during the night and didn't steal anything, and now there's a fire, but nothing is damaged.
Credit luck and the fire department for that, Angel.
Water. Just look at the water.
What's the matter, Humber? Run a few bindings?
Oh, no. It isn't important. Only the 6 for $1 ones. But, Mr. Valentine, what is it? What's going on? Who is trying to do what to me? The bookworm who reads Burns certainly didn't start the fire, or it would have burned up my entire stock.
No, George, the fire didn't actually start here.
But it was aimed here. If the engines hadn't been so
The
quick...
place next door almost burned to the ground. That was the reason for the fire here.
An old apartment, yes, where Rosa and Otto live, but they don't own anything. There was no loss to anybody. Oh, no. It was here, all right, at me, that the fire was aimed. Only why?
Mr. Humber, suppose you give me a chance to find out. Hey, Brooksy, there was a fire investigator here a minute ago. Let's find him.
There he is, over there, George.
But, Mr. Valentine...
I said I'll do it my own way, thanks. Hey, you. Hey, you, Mac. Hey, I want to talk... Oh.
Are you addressing me, young man?
I thought you were somebody else.
Maharaja of Ranapur, perhaps? J.P. Morgan's ghost? Any law against my being me?
Sorry.
And what are you staring at, mademoiselle? Didn't you ever see a shirt with no collar before? It's to display the hair on my chest, naturally. Gray, quite unusual, don't you think?
Okay, friend, skip it.
No, George.
You'll find the children's books on the next counter.
What's that one you're looking at? What are you doing here?
Georgie, Porgy, pudding and pie. What's it look like I'm doing? Taking a bath, naturally. Kiss the girls and say goodbye.
Yeah, let me see that.
Get your hands off me. It's a bookstore, isn't it? It's open for business?
I'll say it is. It's wide open now. So the book you're interested in is Certain Poems by Robert Burns.
Yes, a book of Burns poems. I just picked it up. I suppose you're from the T.S. Eliot Protective League?
What is all this? What is going on?
George, it's the same book.
I came here to buy this book. Any objections?
No, friend. Just questions. Like, why?
People. Look here. Edinburgh edition. The Four Dials Press, 1793.
Yeah, it's an old edition, all right.
A very authentic edition, a very rare one.
Oh, so I see. Priced at $750. I didn't notice that before.
Oh, it is quite valuable, Mr. Valentine. It turned up in a bunch of second-hand things Otto picked up at auction. That's what is so peculiar. Why the Bookworm didn't steal it.
Wait a minute. I think it's even more peculiar how this man happened to know it was here.
Yeah. How about that, friend?
My name is Jess. Henry Jess. Not friend. Not even to my enemies.
Jess, the critic?
Well, I salute you, Mr. Humber. Fame, isn't it wonderful? Yes. Henry Jess, the man who sells his brain for a few dollars a month to silly book magazines.
Hey, get back on the rails, will you? I ask you a simple
How
question.
I knew that book was here? A man told me. Not a bird, a man.
What man?
Here.
An envelope.
No, not for you. For you, Mr. Humber.
Oh.
A man in my impecunious state will do anything for a commission. Even talk to the likes of you. I do buy once in a while for collectors so they can pretend that they know how to pick out the authentic items themselves.
Yeah, but this guy's name, the man interested in this particular book.
Why should I bother with his name? I don't know. Just a fat man, that's all. Don't ask me how he knew I'd find the edition here. I don't know that either.
Emery Witzel.
What?
His name. Just a note. Authorization saying he'd be willing to pay up to...
Give me that.
Well, what's the matter, Mr. Jess? What's the matter with the name Emery Witzel? Your client, isn't he?
Nothing. I didn't realize that was his name, that's all. Just a man who phoned and asked me to make the purchase for him.
Look, I'm getting sick and tired of all
Well,
this
it
speaking.
is a perfectly legal authorization, Mr. Valentine.
And you too, Mr. Humber. You give me a case that's like a jellyfish. You can't grab onto it.
The case of a bookworm, Mr. Valentine.
Never mind. You're a little slippery yourself.
Yes, but I've never heard of Emery Witzel.
Be quiet, will you? It's this guy I'm talking to who'll see...
What? Otto.
Hey, Otto, what's the matter? What happened?
George, there's blood on his... Look, he's been shot.
No, let go. Witzel.
What?
Bookworm. Henry Witzel.
I take it all back, Mr. Humber. It's a case now, all right. Otto's dead.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment.
Listen to the difference. Yes, now you can actually hear authentic scientific proof of the difference between new RPM motor oil and premium type motor oils as designated by the American Petroleum Institute. Auto engines are equipped with irradiated piston rings, and during operation, minute particles of radioactive metal wear off the rings. Geiger counters are thus able to detect the amount of wear actually taking place. Listen now as the Geiger counters click off the difference. First, the low wear rate of the new RPM. Now, the much faster wear rate of the conventional oil. Now, new RPM again. You have just heard authentic scientific proof that new RPM motor oil cuts in half the wear rate of critical engine parts, doubles the life of the average auto engines between major overhauls due to lubrication.
Proved in the laboratory and checked out in severe road service, new RPM motor oil is sold with a money-back guarantee of satisfaction. Ask for it at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. And now, back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. Oh, at some power the gift to gie us to see ourselves as others see us. Yes, if your name is George Valentine, that's how your case started. Just a book of poems by Robert Burns. A valuable early edition from the Four Dials Press in Edinburgh. A book that someone broke into Mr. Humber's shop just to read. A book that an agent wanted to buy for a collector named Emery Whitzel. And who is Emery Whitzel? Well, Lieutenant Johnson of Homicide has an opinion on that, because now it seems the little book may have been the cause of murder.
And those were his dying words, weren't they? Whitzel. Emery Whitzel, he tried to tell you.
That's right, Johnson. Otto had apparently been shot just a couple of minutes before out in the street.
And then came staggering in for help or to tell us.
To tell you who did it, that Whitzel did it. Isn't that the usual interpretation?
Yeah. Only who is Whitzel?
Well, now you're asking something else. Well, we'll find him, don't worry.
Oh, don't be too sure. It's like finding the bookworm who disappeared the minute we got close.
You ask me, this guy Humber knows a lot more than
He's the one hired me. It's as much Greek to him as it is to us. Hey, Johnson, check up on that file, will you, how it started?
What? How can you connect the...
I don't know. Just do it, will you? We've only scratched the surface of this thing so far. But we'll never get deeper unless we retrace what we already got. Like what you said, Brooksy, that the bookworm disappeared.
No, he was in the shop last night, but he got away.
Correction, Angel. He was scared away before we ever got a chance to see him. Isn't that what really happened?
You mean all that phonograph noise in Rosa?
Uh-huh. Yep. I wonder how she's feeling now that she's a widow.
No. Please leave me alone. I don't know anything.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Coolidge, but you have to help us.
I'm confused. Why were you in Mr. Humber's office last night in the first place? It wasn't just to listen to records, was it? Oh, I know what you're thinking, but it's not true. Yes, I like Mr. Humber. In some ways, he's been closer than Otto ever was. But you can't make anything out of it. Otto was my husband.
But he's dead now. It's all over. So what's everybody hiding?
Nothing. Just give me time. Let me think a little while.
I'll give you 2 seconds to tell us who was in the stockroom last night.
What? When we heard him, you talked loud. On purpose. You gave him a warning, a chance to get away. No, I didn't.
Who was it, your husband?
No.
Is that what you're so upset about? Wondering whether or not you should be loyal to a dead husband?
No, it wasn't Otto. I don't know who it was breaking into the store, going through the old editions. Well, you claimed your husband was uptown at the time, I remember. Well, it's true, he was.
I don't believe
it. He was. I'm not lying. He was at the Bedford Hotel, room 217.
Wow. Well, now we're getting someplace. The Bedford Hotel, huh? Seeing whom? A man named Whitzel, maybe?
No. I don't know any more than that. I don't.
Okay, lady. Maybe for now that's enough. It's the middle of the afternoon, friend. Come on, open the door.
You got the wrong room.
217 Bedford Hotel. Come on, open up.
So you can read. I'm impressed.
Yes, and in about 1 minute, I'll spell out the letters on the badge for you. Come on, come on.
Dick Tracy badge?
Oh, get back in there.
All right. No need to show off your vitamin.
Looks like we hit pay dirt fast, eh, Valentine?
Yeah, I see what you mean, Johnson. Big fat guy. Answers that book agent's description, all right.
Hey, what is this? What's this all about?
You tell us, Mr. Whitzel.
Wrong number.
Now, look, wise guy, we're trying to find
Name
out-
is McGurk, Horace McGurk.
And don't try to...
Novelties is my line. A surprise for every party. Little Egypt. Watch your shimmy and shake. Exploding cigars. And if you want to shake hands instead... What? Smell of carnation on my coat. Only look out for it.
Cut it out. Salesman, huh?
Sure. Identification. Here, see?
Huh?
Go on, I won't bite you.
Horace J. McGurk, signed Novelties, New York, New York.
So admit your mistake, boy. That's probably Mabel. I'll ask if she's got a couple of dumb friends for you. Hey, get away from that.
Hello? Oh, yeah, this is me. Go ahead.
You know,
Let's hear it.
A coincidence.
Yeah, I got it, thanks. My friend, Mabel's a sergeant. I told him to phone here.
Sergeant? I guess I wouldn't have enjoyed the day.
If he got anything. And he did.
Well, let's have it, Johnson.
Record on Emery Witzel. Oh, sure, there's a record. There's such a guy, all right, or there was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In the phony book business. In New York.
Small world. That's my town.
What else, Johnson? What do you mean, phony book business?
I mean like in forgeries, fakes for genuine.
Like maybe that book back there in the shop, the Robert Burns?
Who knows? But now, as for you, my friend...
New York is such an intimate place.
Just sit yourself down and relax, because 10 years ago, you would have been about the right age to...
Hold it, Johnson. To start fires, maybe.
Huh?
Yeah. You were in the lighter fluid business, too, McGurk, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cans.
It's perfume. It's a gag, you dopes. And Novelties. I showed you my identification. What's
Perfume? Let me see what it smells
Get away from that coat, McGurk.
Hey, Johnson, duck. Hot foot to your friend. So long.
Holy smoke. Those shots came through the transom. Come on.
Somebody been in the next room all the time.
Officer, can you hear me? Got away down the hall. Fire escape door's open.
McGurk's dead, all right. A Witzel, whoever he is.
Yes, I'll cover the other end. Just get that street closed off fast. No, how should I know who it was? Come on, Valentine.
Why? To be 5 blocks behind, skip it. Besides, maybe the answer's right here.
Huh?
This gun of McGurk's, he fired twice, but there's another shell missing. That could be the one that killed Otto. Looks like about the same caliber.
What in the...
Never mind. Just grab it for a lab check. Because there was lighter fluid in these cans, Johnson. Smell them. And an empty whiskey bottle on him. Sure, that's what he carried it in. It's empty, too.
Okay, so your hunch was right. This guy started the fire, but it doesn't...
Let's get back to the place where the fire was. I got an idea. Well, this is what's left of their apartment, Otto and Rose's. Fire really wrecked it, didn't it?
Yeah, so far the only thing to explain anything is a copy of Robert Burns. 2 murders for $750.
One at a time, Johnson. McGurk did the first one, right?
Sure. It looks like the bullet will check all right.
So somebody else did the second one.
Brilliant. McGurk, Witzel, or whoever it was didn't kill himself. So it's $375 for each murderer.
Yeah, wait a minute. What's this?
I don't know. Piece of an old lathe, maybe.
Hey, Brooksy.
Here I am, George.
Any luck with Mrs. Coolidge yet?
Oh, she won't say anything until she's talked with Mr. Humber.
Uh-huh. Never mind. You ever see a steel arm like this on a lathe?
George, what on earth is that?
Or here, heavy wooden screw, or what's left of it.
Hey, printing press.
Now you're getting it. Old-fashioned small printing press. And Otto was a printer, wasn't he?
Well, he had been in the past, I remember.
Johnson, suppose Mrs. Coolidge knew her husband was up to something that she didn't like.
But the phony book business. And that means Humber and that other guy, Jess, are tied right up with it.
Take it easy. There was a bookworm, wasn't there? That person wouldn't have been tied up with Otto. Otherwise, why prowl around?
George, you mean Otto was printing books?
Oh, not many. It takes a long time. But sure, remember? Humber even told us Otto himself had picked up the copy of Burns at auction.
Book smokes, a lousy $700
Wait
worth
a minute. Listen, be quiet, will you?
Huh?
Just a car, wasn't it, in the alley?
Hey. Somebody got out and went in the shop there. Come on.
So the bookworm is a sucker, huh? Coming back for the book. Up in McGurk's room, I said the book was still in the shop. Well, that person in the next room, the one who killed him, also could have heard us. Check?
Yeah, but coming back to the place...
Wait a minute, hold it. Wait a minute, I want to check that truck. Let's see the registration card. Well, it's McGurk's car.
George, look, in the back.
Oh, no. Not another body. Box 7 or 8 foot long, just about the right size for a body.
Haven't you figured yet what might be really valuable in this deal worth committing murder for?
George, what are you talking about?
Worth trying to get away from Otto and then having to kill him? Worth burning the apartment so people wouldn't know about the press? Here, give me a hand. Let's see what's inside this box.
Type.
Yeah.
Loose type.
That's right, old style print. Here, look at the funny capital, see? Sure, Johnson, it's type. Maybe one book is only worth $7.50. But think what a few hundred supposedly authentic books scattered in markets all over the world would be worth.
Holy mackerel.
Big enough for you now, isn't it?
George.
Huh? Oh, here, quick, this way. Coming back again, out of the store.
Hold it. Must be able to see us from there.
You got company, friend.
Be careful, that gun.
Stay here. Kind of a dumb stunt, wasn't it? Coming back to get that one book so there'd be no record of what Otto's type looked like? How were you so far in over your head anyway that...
Head still.
Oh, gonna talk, huh? It's all right. I don't know who you are for sure.
Now go on.
Otto tried to gasp out the name Emery Witzel, but that didn't do us much good. Whoever it is uses a different name now. But then I thought of a poem which says, to see ourselves as others see us.
Move back, I said. How's the car?
It suddenly occurred to me Otto wasn't trying to say who his killer was. He was just trying to talk to one of the two people there with me. I'm moving now. Just take it easy.
Back from the car.
You mean under the car, because there's a cop to the right of you, Mr. Jess, who's about 1 second... Oh, excuse me. I guess it was to the left. Yeah, Angel, it was a big-time operation, all right, with a double cross for good measure. You see, Jess and McGurk had found out about that antique type that Otto made as a hobby, maybe. I don't know whether Otto intended to use it crookedly or not. Perhaps he slipped in the copy of the Robert Burns to see how successful he was.
Yeah, but George, which one was the bookworm?
Jess, of course. You don't think a guy like McGurk could have told a book from a racetrack sheet, do you?
Well, no, but why did Jess want to buy the book then?
Because he was the brain, Angel. The other guy was the arm. The arm double-crossed him. You see, Jess thought he was going to run it real clever. But McGurk found he couldn't buy off Otto, so he shot him and stole the type and set fire to the place.
And Jess didn't even know about all that until he opened that letter right in front of him.
Mm-hmm. To find that his partner had signed the name Witzel to it. He did it so Jess, who was really Witzel, would have to go into hiding again, while McGurk walked off with the loot.
Oh, nice people. So Jess turned into an arm himself and killed McGurk. You know, I thought it was Mr. Humber and Mrs. Coolidge.
To see ourselves as others see it. It would from many a blunder free us. And foolish notion. Foolish notion. To keep one's eyes on the emotions instead of the facts.
Sometimes you can be the most egotistical.
Rosa Coolidge loves that guy Humber, but she was loyal to her husband.
The most insufferable.
Of course, he doesn't make sense, but...
Arrogant.
What?
Conceited.
Women in love seldom do.
Why, you...
Don't kill me, Angel. You wanted it explained, didn't you?
But I know a clue you don't. The name of that poem of Robert Burns you're so glib about.
What's that?
It's called To a Louse. Good night, George.
Listen to the difference. In a few seconds, you'll hear Geiger counters measuring automobile engine wear. The engines are equipped with irradiated piston rings, which make it possible for the Geiger counters to detect wear as it occurs. You will hear authentic scientific proof that new RPM motor oil cuts in half the wear rate of critical engine parts, doubles the life of the average auto engine between major overhauls due to lubrication. First, let's listen to the Geiger counter slowly click off the low wear rate of new RPM. Now the much faster wear rate of a premium type oil as designated by the American Petroleum Institute. Now new RPM again. You have just heard Geiger counters clicking off the scientific proof that new RPM motor oil is years ahead.
Yes, years ahead. New RPM doubles engine life between major overhauls due to lubrication. Try it. Sold with a money-back guarantee of satisfaction at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations, where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard Oil Company of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Robert Daly is starred as George, with Virginia Gregg as Brooksy. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Ken Christie was heard as Lieutenant Johnson, Bob Griffin as Humber, Bill Conrad as Jess, Jack Crucian as McGurk, and Lillian Bayef as Rosa. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. It's worth mentioning here, with the appearance of Ken Christie as Lieutenant Johnson, that we've seen or heard the last of Lieutenant Riley in this series, played by Wally Mayer. Wally Mayer's last show was actually a couple weeks beforehand with the Thanksgiving show we played for you around Thanksgiving. Wally Mayer would go on radio to be the secondary lead on CBS's The Lineup. And at this point, CBS was a much bigger network, while also making appearances on shows like The Whistler and yours truly, Johnny Dollar. So he had a lot going on. Unfortunately, he died very young. He died in 1951, about a year after this program was made. But I definitely miss I prefer the Lieutenant Riley episodes better than the Lieutenant Johnson episodes. Though, of course, in a lot of episodes, neither Riley or Johnson are around. A big bonus for me was the inclusion of some poetry from Robbie Burns. I also like the way this mystery really just kind of built up from something fairly simple and innocuous to a somewhat sinister plot. So well done here. Well, that'll do it for today. I do have one announcement for our listeners, not necessarily related to this, and not something that I'm getting affiliate income, but I think something you might be interested in. The 70th anniversary of the release of Casablanca is upon us, and Turner Classic Movies is actually doing a one-day theatrical re-release of it. So you can go and watch Casablanca in the theaters. A great show to take teenagers to who haven't seen the movie before. Really introduce it to them as it was meant to be seen. And information on that is available at fathomevents.com. That's FATHOM events.com. And that's just as an FYI. I posted about this on Facebook, and Chris comments, if you can find it, you should play the Lux Radio version of Casablanca. It is awesome. I remember listening to it as a kid. Well, I listened to it. The Lux Radio Theater version has, I liked it okay. But first of all, Casablanca's not really a detective story, so it wouldn't fit. But the version that Lux did starred Alan Ladd rather than Humphrey Bogart, and that's kind of a big, difference. I did make it as available as an extra on the premium site, so those of you who have the premium site, can listen to it. One thing I actually had to do is they cut out one of the most, when they did the Lux version, they cut out one of the most moving scenes in the entire film, where they had the singing, where they had the French singing in Rick's place. They cut that whole scene out from showing that on screen, so I had to borrow a little clip from the Screen Guild half-hour version, which included that. So interesting to listen to on radio, but if you can get to see it, I definitely would think you'll have a good time at Casablanca. All right, well, that will do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Sherlock Holmes, and join us next week for Let George Do It. This episode's brought to you by the support of our listeners, and I should make a confession. Usually, I record this episode of Tuesday of last week. Would be normal time. Unfortunately, something happened to the audio for the commentary, so we're trying again. This is being recorded on Sunday, so if you sent in a note or you sent in a donation and somehow I forgot, I've double-checked my records. I apologize profusely for not including it. But with that said, let's go ahead and take a listen to this episode. This one's called The Disappearance of Lady Frances Carfax.
From New York City, the makers of Clipper Craft Clothes for Men and 1,036 leading retail stores from coast to coast present the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Tonight's adventure, The Disappearance of Lady Frances Carfax. Well, here it is, Easter, and we find Dr. Watson all decked out in his new Easter suit.
Oh, thanks to Clippercraft, of course.
And wearing a flower in his buttonhole. I hear you were the hit of the Easter parade, Dr. Watson.
I don't imagine you fared too badly yourself. Yes, Clippercraft does bring a chap a certain amount of favorable attention, eh, Mr. Harris?
Especially if he has the bearing of an old military man as you have, Doctor.
Now, Mr. Harris, you're pulling my leg. All this flattery is making me self-conscious. You'd better pay our respects to our sponsor and then let me get on with the story about a lady I chased all over Europe. And how Holmes stepped in at the last moment and rescued her from a horrible death.
Oh. All right. Here we go, Doctor. Whether it was Fifth Avenue or Main Street, California or Vermont, millions of men wore Clipper Craft clothes in the Easter parade today and paid remarkably modest prices for such unusually fine quality. For the millions who insist upon Clipper Craft do so with very good reason. They are amazed at the values brought to them today by Clipper Craft. These values are the result of the sensational Clipper Craft plan, concentrating the buying power of 1,036 of the nation's finest stores from coast to coast, resulting in year-round economies in manufacturing and distribution costs, and putting money in your pocket. Now, you not only pay less for Clipper Craft, you buy them at a local independent store, a store you can trust. Think of it, expensive-looking new spring Clipper Craft suits, beautifully tailored, at only $40 and $45. Top coats in fine coverts and worsted gabardine at only $40 and $45, and sport jackets at only $26.50. Compare them with clothes selling for many dollars more. And now, Dr. Watson, I think we're ready for tonight's story.
Yes, it was one evening in the fall of, let me see. Yes, the fall of 1892. An evening clear with a little nip in the air. Holmes and I were sitting in front of the fireplace in our Baker Street lodgings. Mrs. Hudson had just cleared away all evidence of our evening meal. Holmes was playing random chords on his violin, and I was stretched out in my cane-backed chair in a sort of digestive coma, staring fixedly at my boots.
Watson, why Turkish?
Huh? What's that?
I was propounding the question, why Turkish?
Well, you mean my boots? Well, they're not. They're English. I got them at Latimer's in Oxford Street. I always get them, Herr Holmes. You know that.
Not the boots, Watson, the bath. Why the relaxing and expensive Turkish variety rather than the invigorating homemade article?
Because for the last few days I've been feeling a bit rheumatic. The old bullet wound's been acting up a bit. Thought my system could stand a bit of house cleaning. But how the deuce did you know?
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary. Your boots.
What's the matter with my boots?
The deduction's perfectly obvious. I might say childish. You do up your boots in a certain way. They are now done up in an elaborate double bow, which is not your method. Therefore, you've had them off. Who tied them up again? Obviously, either your bootmaker or the boy at the bath. The shoes are quite new, so it wasn't the bootmaker. What remains? The bath. Simple, isn't it?
Huh. Why all this fuss over my Turkish bath?
I gather you're not feeling quite fit. Why not take a little trip? How would Lausanne suit you? First-class tickets and all expenses paid on a princely scale.
What are you talking about?
A trip to Lausanne with a run up to Baden-Baden and ending up at Montpellier.
Yes, but Holmes, the season at Lausanne and Baden-Baden is closed.
Unfortunately, Watson, there is no closed season on disappearing females.
Eh? What's that?
The drifting and friendless woman of means is one of the most dangerous classes in the world. She is herself quite harmless, but she is the inevitable inciter of crime in others. She's helpless. She's migratory. She has sufficient means to take her from country to country, from hotel to hotel. When she's gobbled up, she's hardly missed. She's a stray chicken in a world of foxes.
Now you can spare me the generalizations, Holmes. I see what you mean. Who is the missing woman?
Lady Frances Carfax.
What, you mean the only child of the late Earl of Ruffton? But look here, Holmes, she's tremendously wealthy.
Not so tremendously, Watson. The estates went to the male line. Her cousin's now the Earl. However, she is comfortably fixed, and has some very remarkable old jewelry, curiously cut diamonds, to which she was very attached. Too attached, Watson, for she always carried them with her.
A tempting morsel for any criminal.
Quite. The lady herself is still a beautiful woman, in her early 40s.
Yes, but what's happened to her?
That's our problem. Is she dead, or is she alive? It's been her invariable habit to write every second week to her old governess, a Miss Dobney, who's retired and lives in Camberwell.
Yeah?
It's this Miss Dobney who's consulted me. Nearly 5 weeks have passed without a word. The last letter was from the Hotel National in Lausanne. Lady Frances left there hurriedly and gave no address. She's reported as having been seen in Baden-Baden, but from there she seems to have disappeared into thin air. Her family are upset. No money is to be spared.
Oh, yes, but Holmes, there must be other sources of information. Surely she corresponded with other people besides this Miss Dobney.
Only one we could discover.
Who was that?
Even single ladies must live, Watson. A passbook is almost as good as a diary. There's always the bank. We've just been glancing over her account.
And?
The last check but one paid her bill at Lausanne. But it was a large one and probably left her with considerable cash in hand.
And the last check, to whom was it made out, and where was it cashed?
To Marie Devine, and it was cashed at the Crédit Lyonnais at Montpellier, less than 3 weeks ago. The sum was £50.
Who is Marie Devine?
Marie Devine was the maid of Lady Frances Carfax for the past 7 years. Montpellier is her home.
Well, then she was dismissed, or perhaps she left. But why £50? That's a large sum of money.
Those are a few of the questions I hope your researches will clear up.
My researches? Look here, Holmes, aren't you coming?
Certainly not, Watson. My health is in no need of change. Scotland Yard feels lonely without me, and besides, my absence would cause an unhealthy excitement among the criminal classes.
Pardon me, gendarme. I say, can you direct me to the home of Mademoiselle Marie Devine?
Oh, but certainly, monsieur. The little house on the corner, the one with the red geraniums in the window.
Oh, thank you very much.
Not at all.
What a wild goose chase this has been. Lausanne, Baden-Baden, and now this place. I probably won't learn any more here than I did in the other.
Monsieur Desire?
Oh, pardon me. Does Mademoiselle Marie Devine live here?
But certainly, monsieur. I am she. Will you have the goodness to enter?
Oh, thank you.
Please, will you come in here? Be so good as to sit down.
Thank you.
Bon. Now, what is it I can do for you?
You don't by any chance know the present whereabouts of your former mistress?
You mean Lady Frances?
Hmm?
But no. Is anything the matter?
Well, you see, she seems to have disappeared, and naturally
I knew it. He has got her, the black one. Oh, I knew it would happen. I should have stayed with her.
What's this? What black one?
He is bad, wicked. One day on the promenade at Lausanne, monsieur, I see him seize her by the wrist. He follow her around for days. We see him everywhere we go. It was for fear of him she left Lausanne. She ran away, that I know. He was so big, so fierce, so black. A veritable sauvage, monsieur.
Black savage? You mean an aborigine, a wild man?
Oh, no, monsieur, not like that. He was English, but I think he was wild all the same.
But you said he was black.
Yes, black, from the sun, but black.
Oh, you mean tanned.
Oui, tanned.
Oh, yeah.
But his eyes, they are blue.
Do you know his name?
Oh, no. Madame, she will never speak of him. But I think she knows him from before. Oh, she's afraid. She trembles all over like a leaf every time she sees him.
So you left Lausanne to escape him?
Yes, we go suddenly, so we cannot follow. We go to Baden-Baden.
Oh, yes, I followed the trail that far. You stayed at the Englischerhof for a fortnight. Did you see anyone there that Lady Frances knew?
At first, no. But in a few days, Madame made the acquaintance of a Dr. Schlesinger and his wife. He's a missionary from South America.
Schlesinger? That must have been the man who Holmes wired me about. Wanted to know if there was anything wrong with his left ear.
You mean he did not hear well? No, I do not think that is so.
No, I expect not. That telegram was probably a bit of Holmes spoofing. Well, go on about this missionary chap.
Poor man is very sick. He's recovering from a tropical fever. Such a good man, so brave, so patient. My lady, she helps Mrs. Schlesinger to take care of him, and all the time they talk of religion.
Sounds placid enough.
But then, one morning, Lady Frances, she come back from the baths. She has seen him again, the black Englishman. She is in a terror. She tells me she is leaving at once for England with the Schlesingers. They have promised to protect her. And so, next day, she is gone. And that is the last I see of her.
Why didn't she take you along with her?
Me, monsieur? Well, you see, I'm what you call a fiancée. I'm to be married next week.
Oh, I see.
So Madame is so good, she let me go, and she gave me a nice check for my wedding present. And now she is gone. I never forgive myself I did not take her safe to England. These poor Schlesingers, they do not know this black man. They do not realize the danger.
Oh, my dear mademoiselle, it's not your fault. You mustn't be alarmed.
Oh, but monsieur, I'm in an agony of fear until she is found.
Now, I'm sure my friend Sherlock Holmes will find her if it's humanly possible. Well, good day, Mademoiselle Devine. I must go. It's getting late, and thank you for your information.
Not at all, monsieur. It has been a pleasure. I only hope... Oh, monsieur.
Yes, what?
Look there, coming down the street. It is he, the sauvage, the black man I told you about. He's coming here. Oh, monsieur, I am afraid. Do not let him see me.
But oh, confound the girl. She shut the door in my face. Oh, she'd only take me inside with her. Well, I suppose I shall have to brazen it out.
Can you tell me if Miss Marie Devine lives here?
Marie Devine? That's a nice name, eh? Who is she? Sounds a bit like a music hall singer, doesn't it? Jolly name, Marie Devine.
I believe I saw you talking to the lady in question just 2 minutes ago.
Who, me? Talking to Marie Devine? Oh, nonsense, my good fellow. That was a cousin of mine, a dear little thing.
What's her name?
Oh, my cousin? Her name's Emma or Mattie or something like that. What's your name?
That's none of your business.
You're an Englishman, I take it.
What if I am?
Look here, what's the good of beating about the bush? What have you done with her?
What have I done with whom?
Lady Frances Carfax, of course. Where is she, you swine?
What? You little gutter snipe, I'll break every bone in your body.
Oh, no, you won't. Not if you don't want your head bashed in.
I'll show you.
Oh, no, you don't. Take that.
Ask me a question like that, will you?
You good for nothing kidnapper. I'll
I'll choke you till your teeth rattle.
Gentlemen, please.
Holmes. Good heavens, where did you drop from?
And now, sir, if you'll kindly release my friend. Watson, let go of the gentleman's tie.
But, Holmes, look here. I've got him. This is the chap who abducted Lady Frances Carfax.
There he goes again.
Why,
Great,
stop.
Gentlemen, as you may perceive, I am armed with a rather businesslike little cudgel. The first one to continue this brawl will have it cracked across his cranium.
But, Holmes, don't you realize...
Watson, come along back to the hotel. It might be a good idea to find a piece of raw beef for that right eye before it swells completely shut. Well, Watson, how does it feel to get back to Baker Street after your little, vacation?
Well, I must say, Holmes, I don't see why you had to go butting in and drag me back to London just as I was just about to clear up the whole case.
As you were about to have your head bashed in, you mean?
But, Holmes,
Steady, Watson, steady, or you'll lose the compress over your eye. A singularly consistent investigation you've made, that I must say, Watson.
Aha, so you admit I've done rather well, eh?
Well, I cannot at the moment recall any possible blunder which you've omitted.
Now, really, Holmes,
You've managed to give the alarm everywhere and yet have discovered nothing.
Perhaps you think you could have done better.
I have done better, my dear Watson. I have done better.
What do you mean?
From the hotel keeper in Baden-Baden, I discovered the interesting fact that our missionary friend's left ear was jagged or torn.
Oh, rubbish. What can the shape of a man's ear have to do with a lady's disappearance?
My dear Watson, that mutilated ear is the crux of the whole case.
Well, what does it prove?
It proves that we're dealing with an especially astute and dangerous criminal. The Reverend Dr. Schlesinger from South America is none other than a character known internationally as Holy Peters. His particular specialty is preying upon lonely ladies by appealing to their religious feeling, and his so-called wife is a worthy helpmate. They're an infernal couple who'll stick at nothing.
I see. But then Lady Frances Carfax, she may be dead by now.
Dead or worse. She may never have reached London. On the other hand, they may have her confined in some house in this very city.
Why not abroad?
No, I think not. The continental system of registration is too strict. All my instincts tell me she's in London.
But how can we locate her?
Patience, my dear Watson, patience. We must wait until the police spot Peters, or until he tries to market some of the jewels. Scotland Yard is working on that phase of the problem. Scotland Yard may not be any too lively, Watson, but they are thorough.
Yes, but in the meantime, Schlesinger may have killed the poor lady.
That's the Yard's responsibility, not mine.
But the black-haired Englishman, you let him slide through your fingers. Surely he must have had something to do with the disappearance.
Right again, Watson.
Then why let him escape?
Escape, Watson? Escape? The fellow's been hounding me to death. Come in. Come in, I say. Ah, there, Lestrade. Scotland Yard's unearthed something, eh? You look as excited as a terrier that smells a rat.
We're on his tail, all right, Mr. Holmes.
I take it you mean Holy Peters.
Who else? Here, Mr. Holmes, take a look at this.
Aha. An earring. Old Spanish. Gold with diamonds and emeralds. Yes, that belongs to Lady Frances. Where did you find it?
Pawned yesterday afternoon in a shop in Westminster Road by a stout man with a piece out of his left ear.
Excellent, Lestrade, excellent.
Yes, but how does that help? I don't imagine he left his address.
No, but he will return to pawn the other jewels, mark my word. Come along, Watson. Suppose we keep an eye on that shop.
That's it, Mr. Holmes. The third shop past the corner. The one with all the junk in the window.
Yes, Lestrade. It's just about closing time, so I don't imagine we shall catch the old boy today.
I must say I'm just as glad. Looks like a storm coming up. I shouldn't really standing out here in the rain.
Wait a minute. Who's that? Yes, by Jove, I think it is.
Is what? Surely that tall, raw-boned female just coming out of the shop isn't Peters?
No, it's not Peters, but if I'm not mistaken, it's his wife. Quick, we must follow her.
Seems to be in a hurry, don't she?
Looks to me as though she might be up to something.
Wait a bit. She stopped in front of another shop. She's going in.
Lestrade, Watson, look! It's an undertaker's shop.
Undertaker's?
I don't like the looks of that, sir.
Neither do I. Look here, I've got to know what she's doing in there. I can't go in. She may know me by sight. Watson, you go in and ask about a coffin for your great-aunt Matilda.
But I haven't got a great-aunt Matilda, and furthermore, she doesn't need a coffin.
Don't argue. Get into that shop and leave the door ajar so we can hear. Lestrade and I will be hiding in the next doorway.
Oh, very well, but I must say I don't see
burble. You're wasting precious time. Remember, Lady Frances Carfax may be in danger.
Late now and the coffin hasn't come yet. I told you it was an emergency.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Mum, but you see, it took longer, being a bit out of the ordinary, and what with the sauce and
yes,
all.
but you promised to have it there today.
And that it will be, Mum. It's on its way now. Shouldn't be surprised if it was there by the time you got back.
Very well. Good day.
Good day to you, Mum, and I hope it proves satisfactory. And now, what can I do for you, sir?
Well, you see, I have an Aunt Matilda, or rather, I suppose I should say I had an Aunt Matilda, and she, well, you see, she
Watson,
was...
come along. Your Aunt Matilda will have to wait. Mrs. Peters is more important at present.
There she goes, Holmes, round that corner.
Hurry, Watson.
I'm hurrying. Feel that wind.
I don't like this coffin incident. It looks a bit too sinister to me.
But look here, Mr. Holmes. If they've murdered the poor lady, they'd be more apt to bury her in a hole in the backyard, nice and quiet.
Yes, this coffin points to an orthodox burial with all the red tape of a medical certificate and official sanction. I don't like it, Watson. I don't like it at all.
There she goes, into that house, third on the left.
Grim-looking place. All the blinds down. It looks forbidding.
I'd swear it hadn't been lived in recently.
Holmes, did you hear that?
You've got to get into that house.
But we haven't got a search warrant. You can't enter a house without...
Warrant be blasted. Watson, you and I are going to enter the house. Lestrade, you go back to Scotland Yard and have a warrant sent around with a pair of burly policemen to back it up. And hurry, there's no time to waste.
When you buy your first Clippercraft, perhaps you'll wonder how truly fine clothes can be made today at such modest prices. Trying on a new spring Clippercraft suit, however, is a convincing experience. You know that rich-looking worsted will give you long service. You feel the comfort only skilled designing makes possible. You're obviously dressed in the best of taste. Yes, it's difficult to believe that such handsome, expensive-looking Clippercraft suits are only $40 and $45. Top coats in fine coverts and worsted gabardine, only $40 and $45, and sport jackets, only $26.50. Clippercraft values are made possible only by the great Clippercraft plant, which concentrates the buying power of 1,036 fine stores across the nation. Yes, selling expensive clothes at inexpensive low prices at the nation's finest stores is the great big idea behind the Clippercraft plant. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city.
These leading stores in the metropolitan area are proud to add their names to Clippercraft in your suits, top coats, and sport jackets. In Manhattan, John Wanamaker Men's Stores, Broadway at 8th and 67 Liberty Street. Saks 34th, Broadway at 34th. In Brooklyn, Abraham and Strauss. In Newark, New Jersey, Boulevard Men's Shop, Kresge Newark. And in Jamaica, the B&B Clothes Shop, 16408 Jamaica Avenue.
And now back to Dr. Watson and Mr. Holmes, who are about to force their way into a strange house in which a woman has been screaming.
But look here, Holmes. You're not going to ring the front door bell.
Why not?
Well,
always try the easiest method first, Watson. Yes, someone's coming.
Well, what do you want?
I want to speak to Dr. Schlesinger.
There's no such person here. Take your foot out of the doorway.
Not until I've seen the man who lives here, whatever he may call himself.
Very well, then. Come in. You're letting in the rain standing here. And let me tell you this. My husband is not afraid of any man alive. I'll call him.
The place hasn't been lived in for some time. Notice the dust on the chandelier, Watson. Yes, and they intend leaving again shortly. Muslin covers haven't been removed from the furniture.
Dreary old hole. So listen to the wind in the chimney. Ooh, it's cold and clammy. Smells like a crypt.
Shh, shh. Someone's coming.
Ah, gentlemen. Oh, there must be some mistake. I fancy you've been misdirected. Perhaps if you try further down the street...
That will do. We've no time to waste. You are Henry Peters, the late Reverend Dr. Schlesinger of Baden-Baden and South America.
And you are Mr. Sherlock Holmes, if I'm not mistaken.
Quite.
Your name does not frighten me, Mr. Holmes. When a man's conscience is clear, you can't rattle him.
What have you done with Lady Frances Carfax?
Well, I should be very glad if you could inform me of her whereabouts. She gave us the slip, owing me £100. I've nothing to show for it but a couple of cheap ornaments she left in my possession.
I have reason to believe she's in this house, and I mean to find her.
Where is your warrant?
This efficient little revolver will serve until a better one comes.
Annie! Annie, get a policeman! I'll have you thrown out.
Quick, Watson, our time's limited. Peters, where's the coffin that was sent to this house?
It's in use. There's a body in it.
I must see that body.
No, you don't.
Stand aside, I warn you, you'll be hurt. Now then, Watson, first the dining room. Open that door.
Holmes, there's the coffin on the table. I don't like the looks of this.
Turn up the gas, I can't see. It's better.
Why, it's a little dried-up old woman.
Yes. It's not Lady Carfax.
Not possibly. This poor old thing she's over 80. She's almost lost in that coffin.
You've blundered badly for once, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. If you really must know, that is an old nurse of my wife's. We located her in Brixton Workhouse Infirmary a few days ago. We brought her here. Unfortunately, the doctor we called in couldn't save her. Day before yesterday, she died. Certificate says senile decay. Pick a hole in that, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
You hear that, Holmes? It's a woman in pain.
Nonsense, just the wind of the chimney. It behaves that way on bad nights.
Mr. Peters, I'm going through your house.
Oh, no, you're not. Put up your hands, both of you.
Annie, I thought I told you to go for the police.
I think this shotgun will be as good an argument as any policeman. Come along. Out you go and be quick about it.
Look here, you can't bullyrag us.
Easy, Watson, easy. I'm afraid we shall have to do as the lady suggests. She's so persuasive.
I say, Holmes, I'm drenched to the skin. How long do we have to stand here in this beastly rain?
Until Lestrade comes back with a search warrant, I'm not going to take my eyes off that house. Confounded, why does Scotland Yard always have to be so slow?
I say, look, Holmes. What's that carriage driving up in front of the house?
Great thunder, it's a hearse. Why a hearse this time of night? Why the hurry? There's something wrong about this, Watson, something I can't quite figure out.
They're bringing out the coffin. Seems to be heavier than you'd expect.
The coffin. Of course. Heavier and deeper. Special job. What a fool I've been. Quick, Watson. We must stop that coffin. It's life or death, and 100 chances to 1 it's death.
Yes, but how? I don't understand
Put that coffin down. Put it down, I say.
You again. I thought I told you to keep out of this.
Order those men to put that coffin down, Peters, or I'll blow your brains out.
Very well, but I'll have you arrested for this.
Good. Here comes Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard. You could speak to him about that.
Hello. What's up?
Catch them, Lestrade. That man and woman, they're trying to make a getaway.
Oh, no, you don't.
Here, Watson, never mind that. Help me pry the top off this coffin.
But, Holmes, you're not going to do it out here in the rain.
Don't argue. Get at it.
All right.
This side seems loose. Hurry.
All right.
That's it. Now again. Here we are. That does it.
Phew. What a beastly smell of chloroform. Oh, the coffin is saturated. Look here, Holmes. There's nothing in here but the old woman.
Take her out quickly. Don't you see she's resting nearer the top than she was before? Take her out. There's a false bottom. That's it. It should lift out.
By Jove, it does lift out. Look, there's another compartment underneath.
And in it is Lady Frances Carfax. Watson, tell me quickly. Are we too late? Is she gone?
No, there's still a faint pulse. We'll be able to bring her round in time. Phew, but it was a close call.
Yes, thank heaven we were in time to prevent a double funeral.
Yes, but look here, Dr. Watson, you haven't explained the mystery of the dark gentleman, the one who gave you the black eye.
Well, he turned out to be the sheep in wolf's clothing, a boyhood sweetheart of Lady Frances Carfax. I believe they had had a lover's quarrel many years before, and the Honorable Philip Green, that was his name, he'd biffed off to South America, bought a coffee plantation, and proceeded to become disgracefully wealthy. After many years, he discovered that the lady had never married, possibly because she was still in love with him. So back he came to try his luck the second time. His wooing was a trifle tempestuous, I fancy. But the lady finally relented, so the story has a happy ending.
And now, Dr. Watson, what about next week's story?
Next week, I think I'll tell you about a famous family who had a monster locked up in their tower room, and how that monster later threatened the true heir to the succession, and by what quick-witted means Holmes showed up a gigantic swindle.
The makers of Clipper Craft Clothes and 1,036 leading stores from coast to coast have brought you another in the new series of broadcasts featuring the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Our stories are based upon the character of Sherlock Holmes, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is played by John Stanley, Dr. Watson by Alfred Shirley, and the dramatizations are by Edith Miser. Sherlock Holmes is produced and directed by Basil Lochran, with special music by Albert Berman. If you don't know your Clippercraft dealer, write Clippercraft, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York City. Be sure to listen next Sunday to Sherlock Holmes in The Return of the Monster. This is Cy Harris speaking for Clippercraft Clothes. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. The Easter Parade is one event that you'll hear quite a bit about on old-time radio shows, particularly those in New York. It was quite the custom back in the 1940s and 50s. Easter Parade still goes on to an extent in New York City, but the participation has dropped off quite a bit. Still, there are a few cities where you will see it. Richmond, New Orleans, Toronto are a few of them. But it's declined quite a bit. If I were to speculate at all, I don't know if there's quite as much the emphasis on nice clothes. I think that it's become far more casual wear. And I guess maybe that's particularly true out west here in Boise, Idaho. The concept of an Easter parade in Boise, couldn't see it. But still happens in some cities. Very prominent in old-time radio, and partially because of Irving Berlin, who captured the spirit of the Easter parade with his a classic song of the same name that he worked 15 years on. It's one, if you listen to old-time music shows, you'll hear it. It was a standard for many years. So an interesting reminder of something bygone. And, of course, a big promotion for Clippercraft. I don't even think Petri Wine was as aggressive as Clippercraft in drawing Dr. Watson into the promotional schemes. Well, that's actually about all for today. We will be back tomorrow with yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and join us on Thursday for another episode, next Thursday, I should say, for another episode of Sherlock Holmes. I encourage you, if you've not already, pick up a copy of my ebook, All I Needed to Know, I Learned from Columbo. It's a very fun book. We take a look at a history of detective series, and we single out 7 great detectives from radio, from television, and from literature, including Father Brown, Nero Wolfe. We examine their career a little bit, and we gather a life lesson from them. So it's available for $1.99 on your Kindle, and coming to other ebook readers soon. All right, well, now it's time for today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This one's called The Brisbane Fraud Matter.
John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
It is Johnny Pantella, missing person. You telephoned this office about you Brisbane, did you?
That's right.
Insurance, is that your business?
I'm an investigator.
Oh, I see.
I was sent here by the company that wrote the bonding policy on Brisbane's firm. We heard he'd been reported missing.
Well, that's about it. Mrs. Brisbane filed a complaint with us last night. But how'd you hear about it so fast?
One of Brisbane's clients happened to be one of our insurance brokers. He reported it to us.
Oh.
Any leads?
Nothing so far. I'm going out to talk with Mrs. Brisbane in a little while. If you'd like to come along, you're welcome.
Fine.
We'll return to our program in a moment. But first, I'd like to say a few words about jamming. And I don't mean Mother's Preserve. During wartime, it has frequently been the practice of an enemy country to jam our radio communication. That is, to cut into our broadcasting with broadcasting of their own so that our radio messages cannot be received with any degree of clarity. There was a time when our civilian radio broadcasts were jammed too, unintentional though it was. As you can imagine, it was quite a mess, and still could be. Can you imagine what would happen today if there was no coordination among our many radio and TV stations, or if the telephone companies didn't cooperate? When radio broadcasting first began in our country, each station chose its own call letters, power, and spot on the dial. It wasn't long before 2 or 3 stations would try to come in on the same spot, and the poor listener couldn't understand a thing he heard. So, to get things organized, the Federal Communications Commission was born. Licenses were issued to each station and to qualified operating engineers. The same thing now applies to TV stations. Today, a radio or TV station may request certain call letters, and if no one else has them, the call letters are issued. But power and the spot on the dial are restricted by laws of nature, and the FCC engineers don't have much choice in what they tell the station operator he can or cannot do. With the telephone and telegraph, however, the situation is different. The FCC makes sure the rates are fair both to the company and to the consumer, and that all of the independent companies work together so that someone in Japan or Germany, for example, can call someone else in New York with practically no delay or trouble. So the next time you pick up a stateside broadcast loud and clear, or hear everything your family says to you over the telephone, just remember that you have the Federal Communications Commission to thank.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Cosmopolitan Bonding and Insurance Corporation, Cosmopolitan Insurance Building, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Brisbane fraud matter. Expense account item 1, $91.35. Airfare and incidentals between Hartford and Detroit. Item 2, $25 even. Legal fee. Before I met Sergeant Pantella, I engaged attorney Robert E. Pearson to arrange for a court order impounding all of the records and books in the offices of Hugh Brisbane's small brokerage house. However, I moved an hour too late on that procedure. When I met Sergeant Pantella at the police station, he told me,
"We'll have to look at them first, Dollar. DA's office got out a court order first thing this morning."
Well, I wasn't trying to jump you, Sergeant. I didn't know how far you'd gotten. Just that we're always anxious to get that information on a case like this, so our auditors can get busy.
Yeah.
It's a $25,000 bond, and we'll have to make good on it if Brisbane's run away.
We don't know if he's done that, Dollar.
No, we don't. What are your ideas on this, Sergeant?
Well, I only talked with Mrs. Brisbane briefly. She told us she hadn't been home for 2 days. That was last night. The family doctor had already been there and given her a sedative. That's why I had to wait until this morning to get some details.
I see.
I have 4 men covering Brisbane's office force right now, and the DA's men are there, of course, on the books. I will be glad to give you a copy of their findings, maybe save your people some money. Almost 11. Now, what do you say?
Anytime. 40 minutes later, I was in the living room of the Brisbane home with Sergeant Pantella. Hugh Brisbane's wife was settled on a sofa in front of the fireplace. She was a small, stocky woman in her late 30s or early 40s. The clothes she was wearing, the house itself, the appointments of the room about her, all suggested a well-run, well-kept sort of life.
Of course. Sergeant Pantella, isn't it?
Yes. And this is Mr. Dollar from the insurance company.
Yes?
I represent the company that bonded Mr. Brisbane's firm.
Oh, really?
Naturally, we're interested in his whereabouts, too.
Well, is there anything wrong?
We don't know. It's just a matter of routine right now.
I feel much better today, Sergeant. I hope I can be of some help.
Mrs. Brisbane, on a case like this, there are standard questions that we want answered. Now, some of them are personal, but the information is necessary if we're going to proceed with any efficiency.
Oh?
I wanted you to understand that. Now, last night when I spoke with you, you said you hadn't seen or talked to your husband for 2 days.
That's right. I saw him at breakfast Tuesday morning, and that was the last time.
Did you know that after he left here, Mr. Brisbane did not go to his office?
No.
He wasn't there at any time Tuesday or Wednesday, as far as we can find out. Did he take a car?
No. He preferred the bus when the weather was like this.
About what time did you have breakfast with him Tuesday?
Oh, before 9 sometime. He always tried to be in his office by 10:30.
I don't want to frighten you, but can you think of any enemies that might want to do your husband harm?
Enemies? You? Oh, dear, no.
We'd appreciate it very much if you'd consider that question again, Mrs. Brisbane. It's important.
I really can't think of anyone who might want to hurt him. Or perhaps in his office, in his business, there's someone, but he never discussed what went on there with me.
Are you sure?
It was a rule. See, this is our home. That's his business. We just never talked about what went on in his office at all.
I see.
How long have you and Mr. Brisbane been married?
18 years next July.
Well, can you think of any reason why Mr. Brisbane might just walk out and not come back?
None whatsoever, Sergeant. Absolutely none.
You said that you saw your husband last Tuesday morning at breakfast?
Yes.
But you didn't report him missing until last night. Can you explain that?
Oh, I wasn't here for dinner Tuesday night, and when I got home it was late in the evening. I presumed he was in his room sleeping. Wednesday I was also out for dinner and came in late. It wasn't until dinner time Thursday that I became worried. I telephoned his office, and they said he hadn't been in for 2 days, and I telephoned the police.
Had his bed been slept in at all?
No. The maid told me that she hadn't made it since Tuesday morning.
Well, weren't the people in his office worried?
I suppose so.
Well, I mean, didn't someone there telephone here asking for Mr. Brisbane?
Oh, no. Sometimes he wouldn't be in the office for 2 or 3 days at a time. He instructed the secretary that when he didn't show up, he didn't want to be called at home either.
I see.
Where would he spend his time on these occasions when he didn't go to his office for a couple of days?
Here. Hugh liked to read and write a little. He has a room on the 3rd floor where he spent a great deal of his time.
Would it be possible to look at that room?
Oh, yes, I suppose so.
Well, tell me, have you looked through his bedroom?
Yes.
Any of his things missing?
Not that I know of.
Clothes, luggage, something like that.
I really couldn't say. I don't know enough about his things.
Well, how about the servants? Could they give us that information, do you think?
Possibly.
Miss Brisbane, have you had any odd telephone calls or messages since your husband's disappearance?
No. What do you mean?
Well, again, we don't want to frighten you, but there's always the possibility that he was kidnapped. He's being held for ransom.
Oh, dear Lord.
I wouldn't worry about that angle too much if you haven't had any contact.
Did Mr. Brisbane drink much?
Oh, cocktails before dinner, maybe 2 or 3.
Ever any long drinking jaunts?
No. Oh, on a weekend occasionally, but nothing serious. Hugh never went off and drank, if that's what you're trying to find out.
Is he in good health?
Yes, perfect, I think.
Oh, who's your family doctor?
Dr. Wayner took care of Hugh. L.D. Wayner.
Okay. Now, we won't keep you much longer, Mrs. Brisbane, but about the clothing. Mr. Brisbane was wearing Tuesday morning a dark blue suit, gray hat, gray tweed overcoat. Is that correct?
Yes. I remember very distinctly.
We talked to Mrs. Brisbane for another half hour, gathering information concerning the missing man. After that, we questioned both servants and learned that Brisbane was a man of careful and precise habits. We examined the study that Mrs. Brisbane had told us about, as well as his bedroom. To all appearances, and from all we could learn, he had taken nothing with him but the clothes on his back and what money he had on his person. By mid-afternoon, every member of Hugh Brisbane's office force had been interviewed and questioned. None of them were able to furnish a motive behind his sudden and complete absence. He was described by everyone as a model husband and a model business executive. The detail from the district attorney's office reported that his business was in sound financial condition. I went with Sergeant Pantella when he interviewed Dr. Wayner, Brisbane's personal physician.
Well, according to my records, I examined him last on December 13th.
He was in good health.
For a man of his age and responsibility, I would say he was an excellent help.
Oh, could you explain the qualification, Doctor?
Well, I was thinking only by comparison. Hugh Brisbane is 45 years old. He's held a position of tremendous responsibility for many years. For a lesser man or a frailer man, the incidence of an organic disturbance increases with the years. In Brisbane's case, it didn't seem to hold. He knew how to relax, or he knew how to escape for periods of time and get a complete rest. He told me that he read a great deal and tried his hand at writing.
Did you do a complete physical on him, Doctor?
Yes. Why?
Was there any indication or any reason whatsoever for you to suspect that he might suffer from some sort of mental trouble?
No, there was not. I'd say that when I examined him, he was in excellent mental shape, too. Oh, I know you're seeking out the possibility of an amnesia condition or something similar. No, it wouldn't come in a flash, just like that. There would have been some symptoms.
What kind of symptoms?
Well, symptoms that Mrs. Brisbane or the people in his office would have noticed and probably told you about when you questioned them. An inability to remember names, addresses, telephone numbers are the most easily recognized. Someone would have picked up those things in his conversation or his actions. For instance, he might have not been able to count his change when he paid a check at a restaurant. See what I mean?
I see, yes.
I think you can discount the probability of amnesia on those grounds.
How long have you known him, Doctor?
Well, 6 years, I think. He used to go to a friend of mine who passed away, and then he came to me.
Did you ever meet him outside this office?
Socially, yes.
Where?
Well, we both belonged to the same country club. I played golf with him several times. I've seen him at dances, other affairs.
Did he and Mrs. Brisbane strike you as a happy couple?
Oh, I suppose so, Mr. Dollar. I never really thought about it much. I'll tell you this. Hugh Brisbane has quite a head on his shoulders. That was always my impression of him.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with him about anything but business or social activity?
Yes, I did, once. It startled me at first. I was aware that he was a man of education and some culture, but I was quite taken aback by his ability to quote the classicists.
Oh?
It seemed incongruous somehow. I remember we were sitting in the club. It had been a 2:00 lunch. Practically everybody had left except the waiters, and I heard him quote a Greek. Hercules.
Oh, what did he quote? Do you remember it?
Why?
Just curious.
I don't remember it, but I was so impressed with the passage, I took the trouble to look it up myself and to write it down. I have it here somewhere. Yeah. There it is, Mr. Dollar.
Thanks.
Surprising,
I don't know.
What does it say?
But if there were a man who had sufficient force, he would shake off and break through and escape from all this. He would trample underfoot all our formulas and spells and charms and all our laws which are against nature. The slave would rise in rebellion and be lord over us, and the light of natural justice would shine forth. When did he quote this to you, Dr. Waiter?
Monday, the day before he disappeared.
And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. The disappearance of Hugh Brisbane had been complete and final up until the time the district attorney's men discovered that $5,000 had been withdrawn from his savings account on the morning he'd vanished. The fact that he was known to have a large amount of money with him opened up new possibilities in the case. What was his name?
Cook. This is the third cage.
Oh, yeah. Over there.
Yeah. Mr. Cook?
Yes?
I'm Sergeant Pantera. This is Mr. Dollar.
Oh, yes, you phoned me. It's about Mr. Brisbane?
You took care of him when he was in here last Tuesday. Is that right?
Yes, I handled the withdrawal.
We'd like to see the slip on that, please.
Yes, I looked it up. I have it ready for you.
Thanks.
You said on the phone you'd want a copy?
Yes, for the handwriting man.
Well, you may have that one. There was an automatic duplicate when he made out the withdrawal slip. We have that for our file.
I see. Have you known Mr. Brisbane very long?
Well, I've seen him the many times he's been in the bank since I've worked here.
How long is that?
5 years.
Are you sure you know him?
Oh, yes, of course.
Is this him?
Yes.
This is the same man who signed this withdrawal slip last Tuesday morning.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now tell us. What happened?
He just came up to the cage and gave me the withdrawal slip. That's all.
I see. Weren't you a little surprised when he made out a withdrawal slip for $5,000?
No, not particularly.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Oh, well, maybe I was a little surprised, but Mr. Brisbane has withdrawn large sums from his personal savings account several times. Yes, I remember once he took out $3,500, and another time he withdrew $2,000. I assume this was for some sort of speculation where he needed cash on hand.
When he came up to the cage, what exactly did he say to you?
Oh, just good morning, and will you please take care of this?
Was that all?
Yes, that's all.
Well, didn't he stipulate how he wanted the money? Tens, 20s, hundreds?
Oh, yes. He did say that. He took it mostly in hundreds and 50s. I think I gave him $200 worth of 10s and 20s, too, but I'm not sure.
Any of those bills happen to be recorded?
No, I'm sorry.
$5,000 is quite a bundle of money to be carrying around broken down that way, Mr. Cook.
Oh, he was ready for it. He had a small bag with him. He put it all in that.
What kind of a bag?
Oh, just a bag, like a doctor's bag. It was black or very dark brown, I think.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you can remember about it?
No, I'm afraid not.
Initials, maker's name?
No, sorry.
Okay. Dollar?
Yeah, just 1 minute. When Brisbane left the bank with a bag of money, did you happen to see which way he went?
Oh, no. Okay. Oh, wait. I don't know if this is important, but come to think of it, I did notice something peculiar about him that day.
Oh? What?
Well, usually when we did business, he'd be very brisk about it. I mean, he'd hurry away from the cage, but last Tuesday he didn't seem to be in any hurry at all. I had the distinct feeling Mr. Brisbane didn't particularly care in what direction he went somehow.
A recheck with Mrs. Brisbane and the house servants established that Brisbane had not left the house carrying the bag described by the bank teller. A supplementary information bulletin was issued including a description of the bag. Meanwhile, Sergeant Pantella's men continued the routine check of bus, train, and plane terminals within the city. Still no luck.
Oh, I'm afraid he had too good a start, Dollar. He could be in Europe by now.
Yeah.
Well, what does your company think of all this?
Well, as long as his books are in good shape, the insurance company can breathe a little easier. But they're still worried about him.
I phoned Mrs. Brisbane and told her she could bring charges against him for desertion if she wanted to. That way we'd get a little more action from the other cities. She said she didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. On that savings account, it was a joint account, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he only took $5,000. That leaves her $23,000.
Well, he's really done a good job if he was trying to get away.
With that much money on him, somebody else could have done a good job, too.
Yeah.
Sergeant Pantella, missing persons. What's your name? I know where it is. Right. Well, at least we know he was alive Tuesday night.
How?
That was a man who runs a bar over on Motor Avenue. He says Brisbane was in there Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's him. That's the picture of the guy who was in here Tuesday night.
Are you sure?
Sure, I'm positive.
Was he with anybody?
All alone, sat right down there on that stool.
How long was he here?
Oh, he was here when I come on. He was still here when the place closed.
Did you happen to see where he went from here?
What kind of shape was he in? Was he drunk?
No, real sober and quiet. He drank all night, but it didn't seem to affect him at all.
Well, did you talk to him at all?
No, I just took his orders for drinks. He didn't seem to want to talk to nobody.
I see.
What time did you come on?
8 o'clock.
What time do you close?
2.
Did you happen to notice if anybody who was in here talked to him?
Oh, I think a couple of people tried, drunks, but he didn't have much to say to them, so they just left him alone.
Uh-huh. Anything else happen?
No. Oh, right. Yeah, he was making a phone call all the time he was here. A long-distance phone call from that booth right there. He sat at the end of the bar so he could hear the operator call him back.
You don't happen to know where he was calling?
Oh.
How do you know it was a long-distance call?
Well, because once he handed me a 20 and asked me to change it. I gave him $5 worth of quarters. All the quarters I had, as a matter of fact.
Uh-huh. About what time was this?
Well, I couldn't say exactly. It seemed to be about 10 o'clock when he started.
You mean when he first placed the call?
That's right. But he was still at it after midnight. I guess the operator was ringing him every 20 minutes the way they do, you know.
Do you know if he completed the call?
Oh, yeah. I heard him slugging quarters into the box once.
Okay.
Did he have anything with him while he was here?
What do you mean?
Was he carrying a bag or anything?
No, nothing but his overcoat.
The telephone company records disclosed that Hugh Brisbane had placed a call from the pay booth in the lounge. A person-to-person call to a Kenneth Temple in San Francisco. We tried to place a call to the same number, but there was no answer.
I'm sorry, sir. Your party does not answer. I'll call you back in 20 minutes.
All right, miss.
Kenneth Temple. Temple?
Something familiar?
Something, yeah. I don't know what it is, though.
Well, we should be hearing from the police there pretty soon. I asked them to look him up.
We waited another 2 hours trying to complete the call to Kenneth Temple in San Francisco. The operators were still trying when we drove out to the Brisbane residence once more. Mrs. Brisbane led us into the house.
You say you found out something, Sergeant?
Well, we might have, Mrs. Brisbane. Maybe you can help us.
I'll try. Won't you sit down?
Thanks.
Now, what is all this about San Francisco?
We found out that your husband called a man named Kenneth Temple there on Tuesday night.
Oh?
That name, Kenneth Temple, does it mean something to you?
No.
Have you ever heard it before?
I don't believe I have.
Mr. Brisbane never mentioned it to you at all?
I can't say for certain, but it's not familiar to me at the moment.
Mrs. Brisbane, have you ever been to San Francisco?
Yes?
When?
Twice. Going to and coming back from Hawaii 2 years ago.
Has Mr. Brisbane ever been in San Francisco?
He was on the same trip.
The name Temple. Maybe it's someone you met while you were there?
No. I don't recall meeting anyone there at all. We were in a group of people. We all took the same plane from here and stayed together the whole trip.
I see.
Oh, excuse me, please.
Sure. This isn't getting us very far.
I don't get it.
Hello. Who? Oh, yes, operator. Just a moment. It's for you, Sergeant.
Oh, thanks. Probably San Francisco. Thank you. This is Sergeant Pantella. Yes? Hello, Mr. Temple. This is Sergeant Pantella, Missing Persons Division, Detroit Police Department. We're trying to locate a man named Hugh All right. He's there now.
Hugh, let me talk to him.
Just a minute, Mrs. Brisbane.
Mr. Brisbane, we've been pretty worried about you. Yes, I'm speaking to you from your home. She's fine. Yeah, just a moment. He wants to talk to you.
Hello, Hugh. Oh, it's so good to hear your voice. Hugh, what on earth... Yes, Hugh. I'm listening. Yes? Yes, Hugh, I remember all that. But Hugh, Yes, dear. All right. You again.
Hello, Brisbane. Yes? Yes, I'm...
Are you feeling all right, Mrs. Brisbane?
I catch my breath.
Sure that was your husband you talked to?
It was you. I'm leaving you and everyone else. That's what he said.
What?
Well, he said that he was going to take a long sea trip with Mr. Temple, and that he wouldn't be back for a year, if he ever came back. He said he wrote me all of this in a letter that I should receive today. Why would he do a thing like that? He had everything here in this home that he wanted. It's a lovely home. We have lovely friends. Why? Why? If you would have just talked to me about it. I don't...
Maybe he did, Mrs. Brisbane.
What?
The doctor's the only one I found who ever listened to him. It was true. Hugh Brisbane had just plain walked out one day and had no intention of coming back for a long, long time. And as far as the police were concerned, there was no way to stop him. As far as we're concerned, we'll have to sit on that $25,000 bond and hope that he'll come back to Detroit someday when he gets whatever it is out of his system. There's nothing we can do either. Expense account item 3. Room and board of the Chase. $78.50. Item 4, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $286.20. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman with music by Eddie Dunstetter. Featured in tonight's cast were Jay Novello, Jeanette Nolan, John McIntyre, Joe Kearns, and Virginia Gregg. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle.
Welcome back. Well, I have to say, as I'm listening to this episode, this one is another one of those that was done as a 5-parter. And listening to this definitely gave me a preference for the Bob Bailey one, and it didn't so much have to do with Bailey or Lund in this particular case. Rather, it had to do with the end. We get to the end of this story, and we don't see Mr. Brisbane. We don't hear Mr. Brisbane. In fact, we're in Johnny's point of view, so other people talk to him with Johnny around. Now, that might have happened. It doesn't necessarily make for the greatest dramatic ending. So that was a little bit annoying there, but other than that, it was a good story. All right, well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback. David said, regarding the programs we mentioned during my Sleuths of My Youth series, I haven't seen anybody mention my absolute favorite yet. My all-time favorite is yours truly, Johnny Dollar, the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator. And of course, we're enjoying this series here as we're going through it. It didn't come up in the Sleuths of My Youth column because I was not fortunate enough to enjoy it during my youth, but I've gathered, some parents sharing this show with their kids. So hopefully some of today's kids will be more fortunate in that regard. So, all right, well, we've got a couple more comments from our friends on Facebook. Michael comments, been listening to the old archives. Great stuff. And Jerry says, just found the iPhone app, immediately a favorite. Consistent post and good commentary. At first I thought the commentator was a tad dorky, but now I never skip the intros. I'm just as big a dork. Well, thanks so much, Jerry. Glad to help you get in touch with your inner dork. All right, well, that will actually do it for today. We will be back on Monday with Barrie Craig Confidential Investigator. And then join us again on Friday for another exciting episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.